Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a Friday edition of the Rodcast. We like to call it the Freak Flag Feel Good, Fake It Till You Make It. Ric Flair, woo! Football 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. Thank you guys for joining us. You had a thrilling, it's rare we can say that, a thrilling Thursday night football contest. Last night, we'll get into it. The Falcons pull out the win in late game, dramatic fashion in overtime. We'll discuss it, break it down here. Also, we'll get into some Texas football conversation. Of course, Texas on a bye week, so the undefeated Longhorns get a little R&R, but we'll still discuss Texas football. We'll talk about the defense a little bit. Also, Texas may have the best freshman class in the country. We'll get into that. Also, we'll dive into some other NFL news, notes, and nuggets. You got the Cowboys with a big matchup with the Steelers over the week coming up over the weekend. Also, revenge game for Stephon Diggs and the Houston Texans facing off against the Buffalo Bills. So we'll break that. We'll do that coming up in the next hour of the show. Also, there are some college football games that I think are particular interest to our audience. So we'll get into some of those coming up in the next hour. We got all your usual favorites. We got Who Said That. We got the topic for the big fat poll of the day. We got Off the Record, What the Facts, What the Stats. We are loaded on the show as always. Before we introduce any of those topics, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustle spirit, period. Not sure what he's paid, but pretty damn sure the man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It's our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. It is a Friday afternoon. No idea what I'm going to do with myself this weekend with no Texas game. There's not a lot of great college football on. I don't know.
Those are good. The Aggies have probably the most notable of the games, but you're right. It's not a sexy. It's a good weekend to do some stuff.
It is.
If you're a college football, if you're a Longhorn fan, a college football fan, you got some stuff to do. This is a good weekend to do it. You're not going to miss much.
Yeah, this is the last one, and then I feel like it's real go time then because we get into phase 2.
Yeah, phase 2 starts off with a bang because I mean those first 2 weeks just for Texas, you got Texas OU, then Georgia. Hey, I believe that Georgia weekend you got that Bama Tennessee game too.
That'll be a good one too.
That'll be a good one too, a top 5 matchup. So no, you're right. It gets going. So this is kind of the calm before the storm.
Yes.
Of the college football.
This is the if you have anything to do on a Saturday, this is the time to do it.
Tell wifey like, hey babe, you want to do something this weekend? Like, be that guy. Like, hey babe, you got a list. Come here to do some stuff around the house. You should step up this weekend and be that guy because you ain't gonna have many more.
And even if you want to even if you want to watch Missouri A&M, that's an 11 a.m. game, I believe.
Oh, it's early. It's really early.
I believe it's an 11 a.m. I believe it's a early game. So
you don't want it to wake up early. It's the first we gotta get to sleep in a little bit.
You do, but 11 a.m. is not waking up early.
Well, and if to do stuff beforehand, you do. You can't just wake up. I don't get to wake up and just start watching college football. I don't get that I don't get that luxury.
I can do it.
I know you do. Yeah, you're a single man. It's great. Trust me, I got to wake up early. We got stuff to do. Baby girl, then we got some chores we got to do. So I got to, oh man, 11 a.m. to sit down and watch college football game? That's like 4 hours of adulting.
Oh, see, before that. Yeah, I don't have to do the 4 hours of adulting before that.
Yeah, adulting, man. It never ends.
No, and I also laughed because I just said, it's like 11 a.m. You wake up before that. And then I realized I was like, no, that's 40. When I was younger, I did not always wake up at 11 a.m. You had a good Friday night.
Oh, yeah. You might get home at like 5 in the morning. You ain't going to wake up at 11 a.m.
Set the alarm for like 10:55.
Oh, yeah. I can't do that no more if I try. I feel myself getting tired when I stay out late now. I'm like, damn,
no. The worst is if I stay out late now doing morning radio. If I stay out late and I go to bed at like 3, I'll wake up at like 5:30 with this intense fear that I'm missing the show.
Brutal.
And you're like, what day is it? What is it? What's happening? Oh, what am I going to go
panics, and you're exhausted. Panic is you don't know what to do.
And then you're just laying in bed, just like, oh, what did I do? Everything's going wrong.
No. You always regret that decision too because you got an early job like ours. You're always regretting, like, why did I do that? Why was I up hanging out like I had no cares in the world? What's going on? Like, why would I do that? It's that great skit about Seinfeld. He always says there's nighttime guy and then there's daytime guy. Daytime guys go to work, do all the, adulting, do the responsible stuff. The nighttime guy's like, you know what? I want to hang out a little bit. I'm going to have some drinks.
Exactly.
I'm going to kick it a little bit. And it's like, no. Nighttime guy, go to bed. So daytime guy can do what he needs to do. But nope, nighttime guy takes over. I mean, especially single nighttime guy. Single nighttime guy is wild. You out there chasing it, all that. Oh,
single nighttime guy goes out with the best intentions, and then A
It
couple
all goes
drinks
to
in,
hell.
it all goes downhill. No, I always had the mantra, I would rather be hungover at work than miss a good night out. Just 'cause I was like, look,
Ooh,
I'd rather be like, I'm not gonna live my life
that's true.
for work.
Yes, that's horrible. You're
So
right.
I
That's a
would
great
rather
point.
live the other way. The problem is doing this job. That's not really an option. I can't roll in here. Like I leave my house at 4:30 in the morning.
I
So
know.
I can't
Ugh.
really be that hungover and get up and do that. And then I can't at 6 a.m. be ready to talk sports if I'm also
If
kind
you
of throwing up in my mouth. I
no.
can't do both.
In
So
your
I have to
younger
be,
days, you could. In your younger
yeah, that's
days, you
true. I
could.
probably could have when I
Now
was
you
younger.
can't do it. Yeah, I was like, in my younger days, actually, I remember doing stuff like that. Now there's
No,
no chance.
no.
I got no shot, dude. I'd be up here just dragging, slurring words. Don't know what the hell I'm saying. No. I realize I need, and I still don't get enough sleep. I still probably only.
Well,
get,
no, but you
I
got
probably
it.
get
You
less
still
than
got
6.
it. You still got the
I still
baby, and
get some,
you got
but I still get enough sleep though. And I'm with you. I get up at 4, and I get up at 4, and I start dragging. I get my dragging out of the way early. I
yes,
drag around the house for about an hour, and then like
yeah,
5, I start picking up a little bit. I'm like, all right, let's
exactly.
go. Get some ideas going. Let's get it going. Get the blood flowing a little
Let's
bit. I
try it.
used to
Let's
run every morning, and it started kicking my. I can do it every morning. I do it every now and then, but I can't do it
Yeah,
every morning.
well, especially
I
during
just can't do
summer
it.
when you wake up
Oh,
at 4
dude,
o'clock in the morning and you
brutal.
open that front door and it punches you in the face,
With humidity, just slaps you in the
and just
face.
it feels like it's 95 at 4 8. You're like, no, thank you,
You can't even breathe. You just breathing in
no,
hot air. Yeah,
oh,
you're right.
no, thank you.
That's part of it too. Yeah. So maybe in the fall, I'll start feeling better. Like the
Yeah, when
fall.
you get up,
It's a little cooler now. It's a little cooler.
it's nice now when you walk out. It's not super noticeable, but it is
Yeah.
a little bit cooler than my house is when I walk outside. So it's all I want is to open the front door and it not
And not
hit me
sweat.
where I'm just
Not
like, oh,
sweat
it's worse
immediately.
out here than it is in my house. To get in the turn the AC on in the morning. I don't want to do that.
I keep my AC. I got to sleep when it's cold. I got to sleep
I
when
mean in
it's
my
really
car.
cold.
I'm in my car in the driveway.
Oh, in your AC. Yes. Okay, I got you. Okay. Yes. No, you're right about that. That's rare in Texas anyway. They're gonna do that for like 2 months out of the year, 2-3 months out of the year, where you can just let the windows down and just
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah.
No AC
And
needed.
the problem is it's like 2 months out of the year and the days are not combined at any point. It's like you get like it was a Thursday here.
Oh
The
yeah.
next
Then it's like
Wednesday you get
90.
a day.
Yeah. What happened? Yeah. I don't know. Fall is like a running back, man. In Texas, fall is like always dodging us. It's like, like, man, where the fall? I thought fall was here. Like, nope.
Another
Gone
broken
again.
tackle. Another
Yeah,
broken tackle.
another forced missed tackle by fall.
Let me
Great job.
introduce you to my co-host. He's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is a new Rod, father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate that intro. And yeah, I'm excited that we got a good Thursday night football game. Usually those end up being a dud somehow and a little disappointing. I leaned the Bucks. I picked the Bucks in this game. I guess it could have gone either way. It went to overtime. But I'm not upset about the Falcons winning because I picked the Falcons to win the division. I remember at the start of the season, I was like, man, I think the Falcons, I think they got what it takes to win the division. But yesterday I had a whole rant basically where I complained the Falcons offense had not yet been activated because they had not found a way to weaponize and maximize all that skill talent they had. And I don't know if I motivated them. I don't know what happened. They literally had their breakout game of the season offensively.
Yeah.
Against the Bucks. So maybe I should be picking against them. Maybe when I picked
Kirk
them,
Cousins is a listener. Who knew?
I have no idea what happened, but that was the best game they played. I still didn't get my Bijan breakout game, but Kyle Pitts had his best game since his rookie year. We talked about Drake London had established himself as wide receiver 1. Well, that happened. He had 12 receptions, 154 yards. So I don't know. I guess, maybe it was me. Maybe I'm the kiss of death. Maybe I should. And when I picked the Falcons, they start off 0-2. And they've gone on like a winning streak lately. So I started losing hope in them. So maybe
no, and then I think they won last week without even scoring an offensive touchdown. So
it's
like they hadn't, their offense had not been going at the rate that
it's been terrible. Yeah. That was the whole purpose of our rant. My rant and discussion we had yesterday, and they woke up. So good for that. We'll get into it. We'll break it down. And it was a thrilling game. It was good. It went back and forth too. And actually Baker ended up playing a decent game too. But the Falcons found a way to pull it out. And right now the Falcons are kind of the heart attack kids, if you will. If you look at it, their last 3 games, the Falcons' 3 wins. Sorry, 3 wins, period. Sorry, not just last 3 games. The Falcons' 3 wins have come despite having win probability rates of 2.4%, 14.5%, and 7% in the final 2 minutes of each game. It was a 2.4% chance to win in the final 2 minutes versus Philadelphia. Pulled it out. They had a 14.5% chance to win in the final 2 minutes of the New Orleans game. Pulled it out. And they had a 7% chance last night to win that game in the final 2 minutes. Pulled it out. That is, some of the cardiac kids for the Falcons. They're finding a way to pull out these games in the clutch. And whoever, I mean, you don't use the word clutch in Kirk Cousins very often, but the Falcons have certainly been that this season in their 3 wins. So we'll get to the Falcons and breaking down what we saw last night between the Bucs and the Falcons, that showdown in the NFC South. But first, let's take some time and hit these Horn headlines. Let's get updated, let's get educated, and let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB playoffs, the Mets beat the Brewers 4-2 yesterday with a 9th-inning rally to be the final team to advance to the wild card round. From the wild card round, the divisional series are now set with the Tigers taking on the Guardians, the Mets facing the Phillies, the Royals versus the Yankees, and the Padres going against the Dodgers, with all series starting on Saturday. In college football, with many teams taking a bye week, including Texas, there is only one matchup of top 10, top 25 teams this weekend between number 9 Missouri and number 25 Texas A&M. Other games of interest include tonight's matchup of undefeated UNLV against Syracuse, number 10 Michigan facing Washington, and number 8 Miami taking on Cal. In the NFL, the Falcons got a 36-30 win after forcing overtime with a last-second field goal. Kirk Cousins threw for 509 yards and 4 touchdowns in the game on 58 pass attempts. On Sunday, the Texans take on the Bills in Houston, while the Cowboys travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Injuries are a major concern for Dallas, with several star players currently questionable or out for the game. And that's your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We'll get to previewing that Cowboys-Steelers game and, of course, that Texans-Bills game. Big game for the Texans. Not only revenge game for Stephon Diggs, but Josh Allen right now, probably your leading front runner for MVP right now. It's early on in the season, but he's playing his best football we've probably ever seen him play. He's his second longest streak without an interception of his career, because he hasn't thrown a pick yet. So he's balling out of control. It's a great, I think, measuring stick, great barometer for the Texans, who've been struggling, in my opinion, to develop consistency as a team, and to be disciplined as a team. They've basically been beating themselves, even though they're 3-1. They've been more their own worst enemy than their opponents. They've been helping out their opponents a lot.
Yeah, and they played some. The 3 wins they have are not over great teams.
No, they're over bad teams.
So you want to see them play a good team and play a good team well, because the one they played was the Vikings and they got slaughtered.
They got mollywopped.
So are you going to be a team that could win the division because the division is terrible, but you're a ways off from being a playoff contender at any sort? Or is it, no, you can hang with guys and you're a real team? It's a big question. The running back injuries are going to still be a problem for the Texans as it keeps going, because
Joe Mixon is uncertain, right?
He still hasn't. He hasn't practiced this week, but he didn't practice last week until Friday, and then was questionable for the game.
Some people think that they're being optimistic and saying it's that he's going to try to return, because the rushing game is so bad without him.
Yeah,
the Texans just don't have it. So we'll see. But to me, and we'll get to breaking it down, but I'm with you. I think this is a huge game for the Texans. For the Cowboys, I don't know how. We'll see. I don't know how competitive they can be without their best players on defense. I mean, you're missing Michael Parsons. You're going to be missing DeMarcus Lawrence. Already missing Deron Bland. Got a lot of injuries.
Trayvon Diggs hit the injury report yesterday with an ankle injury. Zeke hit the injury report yesterday. Rico Dowdle's on the injury report.
They're a mass unit right now. Remember, Brandon Cooks is not going to play. He's got an infection of some kind.
He is out. Yeah, it is.
I just don't really see how they can be competitive. And they got to go on the road, right?
Yeah, it's in Pittsburgh.
It's a lot of adversity. We'll see. We'll see how this Cowboys team responds, because this is a ton of adversity they're facing right now. They got a lot going against them right now. We'll see what kind of testicular fortitude this Cowboys team has, if they want to fight like hell, because they're going to have to be competitive in this game and to beat the Steelers. All right, so we'll get into both of those matchups. I promise you that we'll break those down from every different angle. But let's talk about the game last night. Thrilling win for the Falcons in overtime, 36-30 over the Bucs. And one of the things that we talked about yesterday, and I was pretty adamant that the Falcons find a way to activate all of these great skill position players they had. That's why I initially picked the Falcons to win that division in NFC South. I thought, Falcons, with Kirk Cousins, of course, if he can get going and find his groove, and with Drake London and a Bijan Robinson and a Kyle Pitts, it's got too many freaky elite athletes at skill positions for them not to actually be a really a really capable and prolific offense potentially. We hadn't seen it so far this year. It came right on time. So basically, right after I started ranting about it, we saw the best of that Falcons offense in that Thursday night football game. Kirk Cousins set a franchise record, 509 yards passing. He had 4 touchdowns, did have an interception, but all 509 yards passing from Kirk Cousins came within the pocket. That's the most in a game, most passing yards in a game from the pocket since 2016. Everything was in the pocket. And he was on all over the field. I mean, most of his yards came in between the numbers. I think 385 of those 509 came in between numbers, but it didn't matter. He just eviscerated that Bucs defense. And he, like I said, I hadn't seen him look that good. I think it's fair to say that the injury, he was still recovering from the injury at the beginning of the season. It looks like now you're starting to see him throw the football to more places down. Remember early in the season, he wasn't throwing outside the numbers down the field very often. Everything was in between the numbers. And it seems like now he is, being able to push the ball down the field a little bit more. So if Kirk Cousins looks that good for the Falcons, then maybe I'll be right. They were my favorite to win that division. But that was a prolific offensive performance. It was. And you still didn't get to unlock Bijan. I think Bijan had like 60 yards, somewhere around there.
Drake did average though over 5 yards a carry. So he
he did. In terms of like, yeah, you're right. No, I'm not saying he was bad at all. I'm just saying I still think you can unlock him even more.
Yeah, they basically just weren't running the ball very much because Algier was not good.
Well, when you throw for 509 yards, I guess,
No, and so you're just so right. But yeah, because Bijan started out and there was a couple plays at the beginning of the game where you were like, man, what is the deal? And he was just getting hit the line of scrimmage and not getting, and then he started to get hit at the line and then break the tackles. So, but it's still yeah, but that was, but you're still like, he's still just not really getting that many clean holes in where he can get going and get ahead of steam downhill. But he's still the Bijan that is averaging 5 yards without a lot of big holes. But he has to break a couple for a good run to kind of break that average back up.
That was the most creative I think we've seen Zach. I said I haven't watched every Atlanta game, we'll admit that. But it definitely seems like that was the most creative we've seen that Zach Robinson offense. And they were doing a lot of different things. And of course, Kirk Cousins spreading the ball around to a lot of different receivers. Drake London ended up, he's the leading receiver, and he ended up having his breakout game. 13 targets, 12 receptions, 154 yards, 1 touchdown. So our discussion about whether Drake London was going to establish himself as wide receiver 1, that happened in that game. Kyle Pitts, the Kyle Pitts truthers out there for Freaky Pitts, they ended up having a great night because he had the most receiving yards, 88 of them, since his rookie year in a game. So they found a way to get him involved. So I think the offense actually still, even though they looked really good, it still is capable of much more, because when they truly unlock Bijan, and it said he wasn't bad at all. I'm not criticizing it, but I still don't think they've unlocked him and weaponized him to his full, capability. And when they do, I think there's still another level for that Falcons offense.
Yeah.
And they got more weapons than I thought. Hell, the guy that scored the game-winning touchdown with Cotterell Hodge, I think I've ever heard of him. Mooney, who had that great catch, that great touchdown catch. He's having a great season. They got more complementary weapons. I bring up obviously the elite players at the skill positions who they've drafted really high, like Pitts and Drake London and Bijan, who they're heavily invested in. They've actually done a pretty good job of surrounding McLeod. They've done a decent job of surrounding those guys with some nice complementary pieces who, if you do decide to take away or try to take away all of their elite weapons, and then you have that ability to do so, you still can get beat just one-on-ones with some of their kind of secondary weapons on offense. So that surprised me a little bit too. Falcons got some talent on the offensive side of the ball.
They do. They've built a decent, pretty decent roster, and they have the star players. It's just kind of unlocking that, and you saw it a little bit more last night. You need to unlock your stars because those are the guys who are going to be there week in and week out. And then you go, well, we'll get Hodge will be able to get us a game in there, and McLeod will be able to have a big game in there. But they've been using Moody a lot. Like he has been a guy that they've been going to a lot in that secondary. Drake London's the guy, so you can get to him in the secondary a little bit easier. He's not getting the double teams, and they're just going to. They really, really like him, and he's been a red zone threat for them as well. So he's taking it to another level. That if he becomes that solid number 2, it helps you out a lot because how important it is. The Cowboys can tell you how important it is to have another option when they just start to double team your number 1.
I know, and you look at this, and that's a great kind of segue to talking about the Cowboys a little bit, but. I mean, this team. Look at the plethora of weapons they seem to have. Like they just seem to have a lot of weapons for Kirk Cousins. Yeah, of course, the elite ones at the top. They got more of those elite weapons than the Cowboys do, and I think their complementary weapons are better. You say I just don't. I'm not really, I'm not excited about that Cowboys offense and like I said, CeeDee Lamb is one of the best wide receivers in the game. He's an All-Pro, and Dak's playing at a high level, and. But after like Jake Ferguson, you don't have a lot of guys that you think scary on that Cowboys offense. Texans do. Texans got plenty. But I think that's going to be a project for the Cowboys. You need more guys that'll scare you. Period.
Yeah.
Guys that can break plays. Like the Falcons seem to have. They got the end of the game. Hodge. No, came out of Prairie View. He's out of PV, and it's like that guy actually. That's a play breaker. Like he actually broke that play wide open. It was just a simple curl route. They ended up taking to the house on him in overtime.
Yeah.
I don't know how many guys the Cowboys have like that.
But that's the problem.
That are secondary complementary.
But that's the problem.
CD can do that all day, every day.
Yeah, because they don't have those guys that are consistent at all. Because I feel like to them, that's Deuce Vaughn and Kevontae Turpin. But the problem is you're not even really using those guys. And then if you want to put them but I feel like, am I wrong that you think that in their head, those are the guys who are supposed to have that big playability?
Yes, I agree with you on that. Yes, I think you're right. Yeah,
and
so I'm not saying they don't, but like you said, consistency. I don't see
consistency, and you're not even putting them in games. So if you go, well, they're going to get 2 shots a game to break it big. That's it. And I mean, like, when I say 2 shots, I mean like maybe 5 plays in total. They're going to be in the game. So if we say we're going to put them in, other than special teams, 5 plays a game combined, and those are supposed to be our big shot guys. You're like, well, if they're not open, then you get 0 chances for a big shot in the entire game because you're not putting someone in there who can at least just run a route and block downfield or do a couple of other things for you because you're not trying to find that guy who's a little bit more consistent and can do a couple of other things and then has that big threat ability, that big play threat. It feels like they are trying to piecemeal it together because they're being cheap and they don't want to take a chance and bring in somebody else. I don't know what it is. And, they keep bringing in wide receivers that are decent wide receivers, but again, there's nothing really scary about the 7 Jalen's they brought in. And
the 7 Jalen's.
there's 3 of them, right?
There's like 3 of them. I think there's like 3 of them. Yeah.
There's like 3 wide receivers named Jalen. But they brought, and Jalen Tolbert, it's okay, but he's not necessarily scarier. Like where you think, even Noah Brown, where Noah Brown could play, was a little bit scarier of a guy. We thought it was a big play guy that could go up.
Yeah.
And then he never got there, but at least you had him for a little bit. And you thought
I remember that. Remember who's the guy named? Remember Cedric Wilson for them and how scary he was when he was with the Cowboys. Now he ain't done any damn thing. I don't know. I think he was with Miami. I don't know who he's with. I haven't paid any attention. But he was like a perfect, like kind of complimentary weapon for them. And he was a guy that could beat 1-on-1, and he had scary twitchiness. And I wonder how many of those guys that they have that are not necessarily their main weapons who also can make big plays like that and break plays wide open. The Falcons, that was pretty obvious with them. They had we saw Mooney do it.
Yeah.
And we saw Hodge do it. And it was like, man, so in addition to Kyle Pitts and Drake London having their big games and Bijan being showcased, the other guys. Love that movie, by
and that's what you saw.
Highly underrated.
Yeah, you saw like Ray McLeod was able to just get underneath and get some. Wasn't trying to break it, but you can have that guy too, but you can't have a whole team of those guys and then a couple big play hitters that you just kind of every once in a while throw in the game. And if they're not open, it's too much. And to get a guy like Vaughn or Turpin open, you have to get them really open because they're smaller guys.
That's true. Yeah. No, it's just like I don't know. That's a great point you made, just about the Cowboys. And I thought, yeah, the Cowboys don't have an offense built like that. Not saying anything. The Cowboys' offense is bad, but it's not great right now. They still got some weapons, but I just think they need more scary weapons and complementary weapons to their stars,
Yeah.
like to CD. And for I guess if Jake Ferguson's like considered, one of your top passing options, you need complementary weapons for those guys. And see if the Falcons do a good job of having complementary weapons for their elite superstars on offense. When those guys are taken away, there's options. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you take them away, please. Take Kyle Pitts away, take Drake London away. But just so you know, Mooney's gonna hurt you, and McLeod's gonna hurt
Yeah.
you, and then Hodge is gonna
It,
hurt you too. We got
and
weapons.
I'll give the Cowboys credit. They thought Cooks would be more of that, and he has been in certain weeks. There's been games where he's shown up like that. He just doesn't have the ability to stay healthy for an entire season at this point in his career.
That is true. I
But
agree with that.
Cooks has been that guy when he's healthy. He's that guy. So
He is that
I'll
guy.
give him. They did get a guy, and he can't stay on the field and stay healthy enough to be there. So I'll give him. I don't want to, I'll be fair on this one. They have gone out, but when you have that, and then you say, okay, but now we have Cook, so we're not going to get a running back. And then you have Ferguson, who hopefully will progress more this year, but he's been dealing with injuries as well. You have to be able to kind of have more guys ready to go. And it feels like they have a lot of projects that
Yeah,
maybe, that they're hoping could be something really special, but they're not able to step in and fill the role whatsoever. And now we'll see this week
I
how
was gonna
much
say it's
depth
gonna be a
there
big
is,
test.
because
Yes,
this is it
exactly.
this week,
Yeah.
to see the test of the depth. Because right now, if you're the Steelers, you quadruple team CD Lamb and say anyone else beat us?
If you're smart, yeah, you just take CeeDee Lamb away. I mean, I'm with you. I'd make it obvious too. I'd put a safety over the top of him, a cornerback playing bump and run, and say, okay, go with somebody else. One of the Jalen's, make Jake Ferguson beat me, or your running game. You know what I mean? That's laughable.
A running game with Doddle and Zeke both
Yeah,
hit the
yeah.
injury report yesterday.
So to me that's an obvious game plan. I think that this is the test, and we'll see if they have some of those complementary weapons. Because if the Falcons lost their second best wide receiver, it looks like they got a few other guys that could hurt you. And I'm just saying we'll see if the Cowboys have the depth to be able to withstand right now a hard injury bug that's hit the team, and right now they're a bit of a mass unit. All right, we come back. We'll get to more NFL news, notes, and nuggets, of course, because we're going to talk about the Texans and the Bills, and also talk about more about the Cowboys and the Steelers. But we got to talk some Longhorn football. We're going to go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk some Texas football. Does Texas have the best freshman class in the country, potentially, from what we're seeing so far? Pro Football Focus has a little bit of an opinion about that, so we'll dive into it. Also, we'll talk about defense, talk about third and long specifically, which is what it's the situation every defense is trying to achieve. Third and long. And we'll see how Texas defense does in that situation in third and long. And we'll talk about that a little bit. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, we were just talking about the Thursday night football game last night. Falcons pulling out the win over the Bucks in dramatic fashion overtime. Didn't mention this little nugget, Longhorn related nugget, that Tashard Choice and Kyle Flood were there. Saw it on social media that Kyle Flood and Tashard Choice were there
Nice.
supporting Bijan. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think they were there recruiting Atlanta
Yeah, makes sense.
during the bye week. Yeah. So I think while they were there, they obviously were able to plan out a trip to go see Bijan. That's pretty cool. By the way, Atlanta, I mean, that's Tashard Choice's old stomping grounds there too. So he's been great as an asset to recruiting Atlanta. Atlanta, the most fertile metroplex in the country for producing NFL talent. And actually, it's not even close. Nobody else is close. You want to know the truth about Georgia's, run, their dynastic run they're on? It's Atlanta. It's Hot Atlanta. Hot Atlanta's the key, because they've been dominating Hot Atlanta and nobody's produced NFL players at the rate Hot Atlanta does. Now you were like, is that chicken or the egg? Is it just because Georgia started recruiting that area that had a lot of talent and developing it really well? That's also part of it. I'm sure of it. Yeah, because now everybody in the SEC recruits Atlanta, and Texas starting to put their fingerprints on that metro area as well. But that's why Sark even won a race. He brought in Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker is from that Georgia area, and it's all about trying to get your share, if you will, of Atlanta, which is, like I said, for the last 5 years, that has been the case. Now DFW is second. The Metroplex is second, but actually it's, I'm say a distant second, but it's clearly second. Like there is like this, it's not catching Atlanta, and that's why it's right now a bit of a it's a competition between all the best schools in the SEC to try to get a stranglehold on that metro area, or to try at least to get your market share of that area. You got to own some of Atlanta. If you don't, you're gonna fall by the wayside. It's been that fertile. I've given you guys the numbers before, but I'll try to find in my notes here and go back on that. Just reminded me when I saw that photo of Kyle Flood and Tashard Choice hanging out at the Falcons game last night. All right, let's talk Texas football. Texas may have the best freshman class in the country. It's right now, I think they got two front runners to be freshman All-Americans. In Colin Simmons, who's leading the team in sacks with 4, and Ryan Wingo, who we all know is one of the most explosive weapons on the team for Texas. Pro Football Focus put out a graphic yesterday. Pro Football Focus College put out a graphic yesterday, and they ranked the highest graded true freshman in the country. This was in the Power 4. So the highest graded true freshman in the country in the Power 4. And they have the two highest graded freshmen as Colin Simmons and Ryan Wingo. They got Colin Simmons at 89.3 overall grade. And then they got Ryan Wingo literally second, 83.9. Dylan Raiola, the quarterback out of Nebraska, who is a stud, the one that's obsessed with Patrick Mahomes. His obsession with Patrick Mahomes, just quick digression here. It's weird. And he continues to say he's not doing it on purpose. Like it's not intentional. He's saying like this, it's a coincidence.
Yeah,
that he mimics Mahomes,
just like him.
Dresses,
he does
haircut.
the warm up the same. Yeah.
Yes. Why is he doing that? Why does he just admit that, hey, Patrick Mahomes is cool and I want to be great like him? It's okay if you do that. It's okay. Now he's basically he's trolling us and he's gaslighting us because we observe him looking like Patrick Mahomes, hairstyle the same, trying to have the same mannerism, same pre-game, routine, all this stuff, and then yet when we ask him about it, he's like, nah, man, I wasn't even paying attention. Did Mahomes do that? Does he do that? Like, he does that. What are you talking? Why are you trolling us like this? This is crazy. And then now his brother has gotten involved too, right?
I sent you the picture. He has a brother that is a younger brother who's also going to end up going to Nebraska, who somewhat looks like Patrick Mahomes' brother, Jackson Mahomes.
He does. No, it does. He actually favors him. He favors him.
So it's a really
creepy.
Yeah, it's
creepy now.
Yeah, it's creepy. Now. It's only creepy because he won't admit it.
Yes.
And he's like trying to, but this is what makes it even worse. I feel like that might be a Patrick Mahomes sense of humor thing too. Yeah. I feel like I can see Mahomes making that joke.
So you say he's fully committing to the bid.
Fully committing to the bid.
That would be actually pretty cool. It's like, nah, man, I'm tripling down on this thing. I ain't gonna let nobody know. No, he's basically like the actors who they immerse themselves in the role.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he's doing.
No, I heard he still sleeps on Kermit the Frog bed sheets too.
Does he put ketchup on his steak too?
Oh,
Isn't that a Patrick
gotta
Mahomes
go.
thing? The ketchup on the steak. Oh man, let's see his girlfriend. If his girlfriend looks like Brittany Mahomes, all bets are like, come on, bro. If that's the case, now it's getting real creepy because I don't even know how you got the brother thing looking like Mahomes. I guess like Patrick Mahomes' brother. I guess I can see that. But if his girlfriend looks like Brittany, okay, then you doing this on purpose, man, and you need to stop it.
You think he just
you don't need to stop doing it, but you need to stop lying to us and denying it. And just say it is what it is. It's okay. Kobe wanted to be like MJ. Kobe to the point where he was cheating on his woman. Kobe wanted to be like MJ really bad. Tongue, the philandering. It's okay. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just get it. You want, you commit to it. It's all right. I wanted to be like Deion Sanders, except I was 5'9". So, and ran a 4.4 instead of a 4.1, 4.2. So I couldn't be like that. I tried as long as I could. I had the hair I had a little mini Jerry curl on my head at one time. So, had the S curl on there like Deion. I tried to be like Deion. It didn't work. I wore number 21 in college but Deion wore number 2 in college, but I was trying to be like Deion. It's all right. You can admit it.
No. Yeah, if he hangs out with the tight ends all the time, he's hanging out with the tight end room.
Yeah. If his best friend is the tight end on the team, also, come on, like he's fully committing to it. Anyway, all right, but that's a thing, guys, in case you didn't know. But anyway, he's also one of the best freshmen in the country, Dylan Raiola, and he's actually the son of Dominic Raiola, who I played with in Detroit and played against when he was at Nebraska. I played against his dad, so connection there randomly. And then I don't know how the hell this is the case. They got Ryan Williams as the 5th, the Alabama wide receiver. They got him as the 5th highest graded true freshman in the country. They got Jeremiah Smith, the freshman wide receiver from Ohio State, I believe. He's ranked ahead of him at 4. I guess they got Ryan Wingo ranked ahead of him, but I don't know. The two Ryans, I think, I would say Ryan Williams should be a little bit higher from what I've seen. Just eye test.
Ryan Williams, I mean, especially because the competition. Like, has Ohio State really played anybody yet?
Yeah, because Ryan Wingo didn't even play versus Michigan, right? He had that one 55-yard reverse, but he didn't do much. I don't know if he had a target in that game.
No, but I think he had the longest play from scrimmage. I think Ryan Wingo had the biggest play from scrimmage in that game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
The longest play.
Yeah, he's just a certified freak. But Ryan Williams was like the star of the Bama Georgia game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, as a true freshman. So yeah, but anyway, my point is, there's no school or program on this list that has 2 players. So looks like those guys are, unless something crazy happens, I'm knocking on wood, they're trending toward being freshman All-Americans. Who knows what happens with Jared Gibson? If Jared Gibson continues to play really, really well, and he could end up on that list too as a freshman All-American as well. But Texas freshman class looking really, really good early on. Just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if I got to go. I haven't done the research around the country, but that's another freshman. Alex January is playing a lot as a freshman. He's ends up playing more than Sadir Mitchell, some of the other veterans. He was playing early, actually, in that Mississippi State game. If you're playing early in the Mississippi State game in your first SEC game, then that means they're going to have him in the rotation. Yeah. That means they trust him a little bit. So I'm trying to get other freshmen that are contributing. I don't know if there are many, but you're a freshman. It's hard to see the field, period. At any program, power program, and then to not only contribute, but to be one of the best players on that team, one of the best players in the country as a true freshman, that's tough. So I imagine not a lot of schools around there, but that's why the future is so bright for Texas. Because as I pointed out, your best players, actually, some of your best players are your youngest players. Like those are the guys with the highest upside. Your Colin Simmons, your Ryan Wingo. I think Ryan Wingo is one of your top 3 best wide receivers, in my opinion. I think Colin Simmons is one of your best, 3 edge defenders right now in that current. Now they're really deep on the edge, so maybe in the best 4 edge defenders. They're really deep there. I love what Barron Sorrell's been doing. Trey Moore some people probably take Colin Simmons right now over Trey Moore. I've heard Longhorn fans having that discussion. I think Trey Moore is I think the eye test, he's actually having a good year, but he has not made the splash plays yet. I will admit that. And Colin Simmons is a havoc-minded player. He'll make more of those havoc plays. Some people say, hey, put him in there, let him play more. Take 10 snaps away from Trey Moore and give him to Colin Simmons. Maybe you could do that. But I think Trey Moore has actually been playing really well. He's He's got a consistent baseline of performance, but I'll admit that has not come yet with those splash plays. So yeah, Texas freshman class looks really, really good. That's basically the point that I want to make. And that's why the future looks so bright. I mean, Arch Manning is what, red shirt freshman. You got, Anthony Hill, who's a young player, second year player. Malik Muhammad's one of those guys. He's one of your best cover corners. So Texas doing a really good job of cultivating, developing that young talent. All right, a lot of that talent's on defense. Let's talk defense for a second. Third and long. Third and long officially, I'm sure some people have a different definition. Definition I was always taught, 3rd and 7. All right, 3rd and at least 7. 3rd and at least 7 yards to gain for a first down. And I did some research on this back in the day. So I had to pull out my notes. And I did it. This research comes from 2021, but it's college football. And if you go look at all of the different metrics surrounding third and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. He's looking at every possible scenario of 3rd and X to gain for a first down, and looked at the average yards per play that teams were gaining in that situation, and look at the negative play percentage. Right, so every time basically the offense had a negative play when they were in that 3rd and X situation, how many yards per play they gained in that situation. All right. And what was the pass percentage in these situations? Because after 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and short, usually teams start to lean more on the pass. So I want to look at the pass percentage there. So this is what I found. So on 3rd and 1, teams averaged almost 4 yards per play on 3rd and 1. So they got 3rd and 1 a lot of the times. All right. Your negative play percentage was really low, 7.9%. Your pass percentage was 12% in that situation. All right. So you kind of get the way the metrics are working here. 3rd and 2, teams averaged 4 yards per play, 9.5% negative play, went up a little bit, right? Then a 28% pass rate on those plays. See, pass rates increasing as the yardage to gain increases. And then you get to 3rd and 3, pass rate was around 50%, average yards to gain. The offense, once again, getting close to 5 yards per play on those plays, and an 8.1 negative play percentage. So negative play percentage actually dropped, probably because the pass rate increased to 50% in 3rd and 3. All right, so I'm not going to give you all these, but I'll tell you when everything flips. So what you'll notice is offense is gaining or gaining more than the yards to gain on average, because it's an offensive game, right? And the negative play percentage has started to increase the more the yards to gain increase. And your pass percentage, of course, also the trend is it increases the more your yards to gain on 3rd down increases, of course, right? But when this flips, all right, when it actually kind of flips a little bit is 3rd and 7. Actually, 3rd and 6. 3rd and 6 is the first time among these 3rd and X scenarios where the offense doesn't average more yards per play than yards to gain. You get me? So everything 3rd and 5 or less, the offenses actually average as much, if not more, than the yards. They average more yards per play in that situation than the yards to gain. So they were converting. All right, on average, converting more of those situations. And on 3rd and 6 is when it finally flips. 3rd and 6, and teams in that situation, on average 5.8 yards per play. And they had a negative play percentage of 10.1. First time the negative play percentage rose to double digits, favoring the defense making more plays. First time the average yards per play actually was not higher than the yards to gain on that 3rd down. And your pass percentage jumps to 70. First time it jumps over 70% was 3rd and 6. So 3rd and 6 is actually statistically where you could say is 3rd and long, but I believe that's still 3rd and medium. 3rd and 7 is officially 3rd and long. And then from then on, from 3rd and 6 on, offenses, based on my research, did not average more yards per play than yards to gain. And your negative play percentage continued to increase in double digits. Hell, when you're in 3rd and 10, you have almost a 13% negative play percentage. Teams are only averaging 5.5 yards per play in that situation, 79% pass rate. You know exactly what they're going to do in 3rd and long, right? Because you have a 70+% pass rate, so you know they're going to pass. And you have a bigger chance for a splash or havoc play because negative play percentage for offenses increase to double digits. And so when you're doing the analytical research, that's why 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, that's money. Those are your money downs because the odds actually flip in favor of the defense for the first time in those scenarios. It's 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7, and then the defense start licking their chops because at least now we know, all right, they're gonna throw the ball. At least we know they're gonna throw the ball. That's half the battle that we actually are there in a predictable passing situation, and then that's when your defensive coordinator they need to make their money. That's when they need to get exotic. That's when they need to get creative. And ultimately, that's where Texas this year has, I think, thrived. 3rd and long situations, Texas, and I threw four. I think I threw a 4th down here too because there was a 4th and long where a team went for it as well. So 36 of those money down situations of 3rd and long, 4th and long situations. Texas defended 36 of them and only allowed 2 conversions. Like that's a really good number. And they oh no, and what I love about it is when I started looking, I'll dive deeper into this in Rod's rant. Actually, we can get into this a little bit more in Rod's rant. When I dive deeper into the creative, basically the creative concepts and exotic looks, personnel groupings and packages that the Johnny Nansen PK collaboration are deploying in these situations, it's fascinating. That's when he gets really creative. That's where you see your NASCAR dime. All right, that I don't know why I coined it that, but I think it describes it perfectly. It's a NASCAR package on the front with 3 edges in there: Baron Sorrell, Trey Moore, and Colin Simmons, and then you have the dime package, which is 6 DBs, and they throw out different combinations, but they move Jadae Barron inside and throw out 6 defensive backs out there. So I call it the NASCAR dime. But it in that basically in those 36 situations where they're defending 3rd and long and 4th and long situations, they have ran either the NASCAR dime or that 3 high safety look that I've talked about how Texas, decided to steal from the Big 12, borrow from the Big 12. Maybe Johnny Nansen brought some of that in. Either way, they have used either that concept, the 3 high safety concept, so something that I really have not seen Texas do prior to this year, or that NASCAR dime, also something I had not seen Texas do prior to this year. Very unique to this season and to this coaching staff. They've used those particular concepts on 25 basically of those 36 reps. So basically 69% of the time, they're either in a NASCAR dime or a 3 high safety look to try to confuse the opposing offenses, but also get their best playmakers on the field. You got Colin Simmons on the field there. Baron Sorrell bumps inside. You got Anthony Hills on the field there. Trey Moore's on the field there. They got all their DBs, which may be the deepest position on the field. They bump Jadae Barron inside, back to nickel. It's the one personnel grouping where I think they put all their playmakers on the field, and you know exactly what the offense is going to do. They got 9 havoc plays in that package, and now he deployed it in that situation 25 times, and yet you get 9 havoc plays out of that. That's a nice ratio, if you will. All right, come back. We'll get into the topic for the big fat poll today and the musically themed day of the week. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Coming back on the horn.
Back at the Rodcast here on a Friday morning. That means it's a 512 Friday where I'll play local music. You can go check out Around Town this weekend. We know it is ACL Fest weekend, so there will be a lot happening downtown, but some of these will be not as far where you don't have to go all the way down in there. Some of them will be a little bit closer if you're going to be around there and want to see the show afterwards. Lots of great music to check out. This is James Spear. He'll be playing Saturday at Seaboys. Seaboys not fully down there, a little close there, but you don't have to go all the way down there. See James Spears Saturday at Seaboys. Let's get to the big fat poll of the day. Text lines open 512-447-3776. And we'll get this posted up on X at the Horn ATX.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
So through phase one, as Sark calls it, Texas has looked pretty good in almost every element of the game. But we want to ask you today, what has been Texas's biggest strength so far this season? You got to say, this is the strength. This is what I would put it all on, that this is the biggest strength of Texas so far, which is nice to have this actually be a conversation right now. Because normally you've got 1 to 2 to maybe 3 things that you could to scratch off that list. But we'll just go pass offense, pass defense, run defense. Real simple. What has been their biggest strength so far this year? Is it been that pass defense who's really shut some teams down? Has it been the run defense that we thought maybe winding down and maybe wasn't going to be the same with Tavondre and Byron Murphy both gone? Is it the pass offense that you've seen 2 quarterbacks come in and kill? I don't think it's probably going to be the run offense. It's looked okay in some of these games. It hasn't been bad, but I don't think we can call it the strength necessarily. So it probably won't be the run offense. Probably get the least amount of votes. But other than that, what has been Texas' biggest strength so far this season?
It's easily the pass offense. I think it's pass offense is spectacular.
I mean, it's been pretty good.
The defense is really good though. The defense, but the defense has not been tested. And I think we all know that. We can, I'm not saying they're not going to pass the test when they have the actual test, but these have been some easy quiz. These have been some open book quizzes for the Longhorn defense, basically, in my opinion. The last few, they've been like that Michigan game plan. Come on, man. Like we that game plan was laughable. It was like, God, y'all know, you even know who you are as a team? This is a terrible game plan. And they put Orji in there, which we all thought Orji was going to play, and he didn't play. And then they put him in there after, and then they start winning games. We're like, yeah, because that fits who you are. Why do we know who you are better than you know who you are?
Yeah.
We had Davis Warren there, like you were going to spread out and throw. Who do you think Davis Warren was? What was he doing in practice versus versus all those NFL players on defense? Was he balling out like Brock Purdy was against the 49ers? So all the 49ers players like, we knew Brock Purdy was going to be good because he was doing that in practice with us every day. And we're the best defense in the league. We're like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Was Davis Warren doing that? Because if he wasn't, I got to tell you, bad plan. So ultimately, Texas defense hasn't been tested. They will be, though. They will be tested. And I think they'll pass the test, by the way. So I'm not hating on the defense. But, yeah, they faced, mediocre offenses. They've been easy to game plan for. And you have a big-time talent advantage. And like I said, I think ultimately you will pass the test when you face Georgia. Oklahoma is not going to be a test offensively. That's another open book test. It's like, the answers. The takeaway that is a freshman who can't really throw from the pocket, but he can really hurt you with his legs. Okay, take that away. All their starting wide receivers are hurt. Maybe Deion Burke is back. The offensive line is in shambles. Open book test. You should be slapping him around.
Yeah.
And, Georgia's the only real. That'll be your midterm. That's some real one. We're going to make you sit down and you don't have to. That's the real exam right there, because they actually can hurt you. They have those type of athletes, but the truth is, we know that it's been pretty easy for the defense.
It's been pretty good.
But last year it was easy at times, and then they still would have lapses.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying they're not improved. I'm not saying they're not elite, because all the numbers say they are elite, and I agree. Right now they are playing like an elite defense, but just have not had a real test. I think the offense has had a real test. I think Michigan defense is actually still pretty damn good. They just made them look like they were and mediocre. That defense is still. I think that defense is still got some playmakers and still pretty damn good. And 3 of those guys are going to be drafted early, like in the top 50 picks on that defense. And Wink Martindale didn't become an imbecile overnight when it comes to coaching defense either. No. So that test, I believe in that, and that's the pass. And they led with the pass, didn't they? Look at that. Damn near 65, 70% pass rate early on in that game. They led with the pass.
It's true.
Because their pass, I don't know if there's anybody that really can defend that passing game with all those weapons. I don't know if Michigan couldn't. We'll see if Georgia can't, then nobody can.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. OU will come after them and see if they can get to the
OU's
quarterback.
got a shot. Yeah. OU's got a really good defense, so we'll see. But the passing game is nasty, man. Your backup quarterback last week was the highest graded player the highest graded quarterback in the country in his second start. That's your secondary option at quarterback in there. And then we just talked about the wide receiver position. What, you had 4 different leading receivers in your first 5 games? That includes Gunnar Helm in that. Bro, they're not going to have 1,000-yard receiver, guys, just because they got too many damn receivers. It's just too many of them. Bond will come close, but I don't think
now, if we count postseason,
he'll get there in the playoff games. If you play like 16 games, yeah, of course he's going to get there. Yeah. But I'm just talking about like regular season and just SEC title game. I don't think he's going to get there. And that's not a bad thing, right? He's still a first-round talent. You're so deep.
Yeah.
You're just deep, man, there. They just rotating those guys in. They're fresh. DBs worn out. They just rotate them in. Fresh guys. That to me, that's why I said it from the get-go. That's you lead with the pass. Your passing game, that's going to be your identity. That's going to be your strength. I said it before the season started. So I'm doubling down on my opinion after what I've seen. I'm like, oh, I was right. I ain't even include Ryan Wingo being a freak of nature with that group. Silas Bowden hadn't even been activated. Yeah, we thought he was going to be one of the biggest playmakers of that group when we heard all the hoopla and the hype after the spring, him coming in. Guy hadn't even been activated yet. Still, Jonte Cook. We talked about him being there with Quinn longer than any of the other receivers. Had all the chemistry, knew the system. Has he been activated? Nah, not really. So those two ain't even had their big games yet. And I think that's going to come. Hell, I don't even think, matter of fact, who's the being leadership? Wingo, Bond have been leadership, Gunnar Helm, and DeAndre Moore. So Golden hadn't even led you in receiving yet. Or Bowden, or Jonte Cook. And I think all 3 of those guys going to have games where they end up leading Texas receiver. My prediction was Texas was going to have a different leading receiver in half of the games this year. You're already halfway. You're more than halfway there. And I ain't even talked about Golden. I ain't even talked about Bowden. And we ain't even talked about Cook. Man, that passing game. And Jaden Blue is a passing weapon, guys. He's a passing game weapon than he's good in the run game, but the thing that makes him special is his ability to be a pass receiver. The passing game is it's a nasty passing game. Like and as a defense coordinator, what do you take away? You would like them to have a workhorse in the passing game. It'd make my job easier. I love to have an Xavier Word. Okay, we shut him down. Hey, last year's offense may have been easier to shut down because you knew who you had to shut down. You're like, all right, I got to take away this guy. A.D. Mitchell, red zone, he's their guy. X-Men, they're going to lead, the passing game is through him. Like now, that could be any of those. DeAndre Moore last game was your catalyst in the passing game. Like who saw that? Who saw Gunnar Helm as being the catalyst in the passing game versus Michigan? Nobody. Certainly not Michigan. Yeah, that's the way it is. That is defense. We'll see, but to me, it's the passing game. Quinn's gonna be. You got 2 first-round quarterbacks in there. Maybe the fastest football player, like right now in college football, as a part of that receiving core too. It's a nasty group, man. Nasty group. All right, okay. Y'all know how I feel about it. Go vote. Go vote. Check it out. Topic for the big fat poll of the day. What is the strength of this Texas football team? All right, we'll get into that discussion a little bit more on the other side. We come back. We got NFL discussions. We'll talk about the Texans and their game versus Buffalo. We'll talk about the Cowboys and their game versus the Steelers. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Bear is coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! Football 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. So we appreciate you guys joining us. That 512 Friday means that it is when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, that's when he plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Glue and the Electric Joint. They are playing tonight at Continental Club, a little ACL Fest after party kind of show there at Continental Club with Glue and the Electric Joint. Cool bill on that. A lot of good bands playing together tonight at the Continental Club.
Nice. I like that. All right. My man Patrick always hooking us up with the jams for our musically themed days of the week. So we appreciate that. We also appreciate him coming up with the great conversation starters for the topic for the big fat poll of the day. Patrick, what is the topic for the big fat poll of the day?
Big fat poll of the day today. What has been Texas football's biggest strength so far this season?
Oh, yeah, you made it simple. I like it. Pass offense, run offense, pass defense, and run defense. Right now, very early on, but you have pass offense winning with 71% of the vote. Pass defense, though, getting 29% of the vote. Nobody, as you predicted, nobody's picking run offense. I don't know if run offense will get any votes.
I don't know.
Get zero.
It might get zero. It's hard.
Very rare that you have a poll, the topic for the big fat poll, where one of your options gets zero.
It is.
Right? It's some people just troll us, I think, sometime in picking. Yeah. So hopefully that Bijan sees it or someone of the actual running backs, and they're like, hell no, it's Trey Wisener's like, I'll vote on that damn thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully that's the case.
I know we had Anderson High School booster page commented on us once for Common Page, so maybe they'll go ahead and vote for
exactly. Yeah. It's like no. I guess somebody has like a sentimental approach to voting on this thing. Because I'm with you. I don't know if run offense will get any votes. Run defense should get some love. Just because I want to say that Texas has a 13-game streak, the longest in the country, or at least in the Power Four conferences, of keeping teams below 150 yards, I think it is, something like that, rushing, which is pretty damn good. And that obviously goes back to last year with Devondre Sweat and company. So we'll see. Against Oklahoma, how that could end up being a challenge because Oklahoma's going to run the ball a lot. Matter of fact, I think I keep thinking they're just going to take that Mississippi State game plan and just add to it. I mean, Mississippi State stayed in that game on the road against Texas for what, 2.5, 3 quarters?
Yeah,
basically. And they had a huge talent gap and a talent discrepancy. Oklahoma won't. There'll be a talent gap, but it won't be as wide as the one between Texas and Mississippi State. I think their quarterback is a better runner and a more dynamic runner, and could just be a better player overall than the Mississippi State quarterback. And they have, if they get a couple of receivers healthy, they have much better weapons on the outside. So when they take their shots, as Mississippi State got behind Texas DBs a couple of times, they figure, hey, we'll take more shots and we'll get behind them more, and we can connect on a few of those. That could change the game. And their hope is that their defense is that good, because they'll be going up against what I think, going back to the topic for the Big Fat Poll today, is the biggest strength of Texas, which is their passing game. And I think Texas will lean on the pass, which they've done all year. And they'll lean on the pass, and they'll be a pass-heavy team. They'll be a 65% pass rate, early down pass rate in that game.
I can see it.
And I think that's where they'll – and usually Sark is like that in these big games anyway. But against that Oklahoma, back seven, though, and the team that's second in the country in takeaways, second in sacks, that is a riskier proposition than it is with other teams, because they make plays on the football. That's what they do. They actually like when teams throw, because then they get a little bit more exotic with their looks and pressure packages and the stuff that Venables dials up. So that's going to be, I can't wait for that matchup. Those two matchups we'll know everything we need to know about this offense and how legit it is. Because if Oklahoma and Georgia can't neutralize Texas's passing game, there's nobody in the country that can. And Tennessee might be like that too. I mean, Tennessee, like I say, Oklahoma actually did. I'm gonna say, I don't know if they limited Tennessee, but Oklahoma's defense, I thought, stood up pretty well against Tennessee. Tennessee like stats are crazy about how good that offense is right now. Like it's freaky. I'll give you and I probably should have saved this for what the facts, what the stats. You know what? I will. I always say that. I should say, you know what? I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it, damn it. I got a great Tennessee stat, and I will save it. Like it's mind blowing. Like it sounds like a Wilt Chamberlain, one of those fake stats. Like, it's a fake stat. It's one of those. But I got it from ESPN, so you blame ESPN if you think it's a fake stat. But yeah, we'll get into that because that Oklahoma holding up against that offense, it is really impressive. So we'll get into it. We got time to talk about Texas and OU, but we got to talk some NFL here. We'll get into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. Start previewing that Texans and Bills game, revenge game for Stephon Diggs. And I'll tell you why Stephon Diggs may have a big game. And it should be by design, actually. And if you're Buffalo, how about this? If you're Buffalo, you want Stephon Diggs to have a big game. I'll tell you why that's the case when we get into that preview. And, of course, we'll talk Cowboys. Cowboys are mass shooting right now, playing that game against the Steelers. And I don't feel good about the Cowboys in that game. A lot of adversity they're facing with injuries and also just trying to become, a competent rushing team and a capable rush defense that'll all be tested against the Steelers. So we'll get into that too. But before we do, let's get into the Horn headlines. Let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB playoffs, the Mets beat the Brewers 4-2 yesterday with a ninth-inning rally to be the final team to advance from the wild card round. The divisional series are now set with the Tigers taking on the Guardians, the Mets facing the Phillies, the Royals versus the Yankees, and the Padres going against the Dodgers, with all series starting on Saturday. In college football, with many teams taking a bye week, including Texas, there is only one matchup of top 25 teams this weekend between number 9 Missouri and number 25 Texas A&M. Other games of interest include tonight's matchup of undefeated UNLV against Syracuse, number 10 Michigan facing Washington, and number 8 Miami taking on Cal. In the NFL, the Falcons got a 36-30 win after forcing overtime with the last-second field goal. Kirk Cousins threw for 509 yards and 4 touchdowns in the game on 58 pass attempts. On Sunday, the Texans take on the Bills in Houston, while the Cowboys travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Injuries are a major concern for Dallas, with several star players currently questionable or out for the game. And that is your Horn headlines.
Man, thank you for the Horn headlines. Man, what did we say about that that story, that Matthew Sluka story? It's like, man, if UNLV wins, it goes away.
Yeah.
Like nobody cares about UNLV not playing their quarterback. Nobody cares about how shady the assistant coach was or who the assistant coach was or the investigation. Nobody gives a damn.
Nope. If they
win
the night, because then they'll win. They'll be 2-0 without him.
Exactly. That's what I was like. Even that first win, it went away quick. It was like the big story. And he's like, it just went away. I was like, I told you. I was like, man, if they win, if they lose, it comes right back.
Yep.
Like Pet Cemetery. It just keep coming back to Harlem. Like, oh, the Matthew Sluka story. Now, does anybody know? Can I get an update? Where is he? Is anybody? Remember, they said he got offers. What was? I haven't seen anything. What's going on? I'm telling you, it was that winning. It changes a lot in terms of your perception.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is win, and it's all good. Like that was. We talked about how damaging that story could have been for UNLV, and I said literally, it all goes away though. They just keep on winning.
Yeah.
And they win again tonight.
Yeah, because
they might be the favorite to represent the G5 in the playoff. They're gonna be one of them teams.
No, they're basically like, it wasn't you, it was the system.
Yeah. nobody even talking about it anymore. So that's how it works, man. And good for them. Shout out to Brendan Marion. I'm a big fan of Brendan Marion working at go-go offense, and now he's making himself some money because he's showing y'all the go-go offense work. I don't necessarily need a player or one specific type of, talented QB to make it work. I can make it work with a lot of different guys.
Man, I made some guy from Holy Cross think he was worth $100,000.
Come on now. That's the truth. And now I forget the guy's name they have in there now, but he's doing pretty good. And I think that's why they let Sluka go. They felt, I was like, no, he's just as good. Like we're fine.
Yeah, it was a decision to pick between the two of them, and we went with the older guy, and we went with but. And we'll see. Amazing. I mean, they get beat out tonight.
We'll see. They get beat by tonight, and then it'll come back. Like I said, Pet Cemetery, that Sluka story be like, ooh, what's Sluka? It'll come back. But if they win,
it'll be on game day in the morning if they lose.
Yes, exactly. There'll be a no update. Yes, no doubt about it. And they'll track the QB performance, that kind of thing. But just keep winning, baby. Just keep winning. Cowboys. Well, that's the challenge for the Cowboys. Can they keep winning? With the mash unit right now, the Cowboys are. I don't feel good about the Cowboys in this game. I don't feel good about it at all. And honestly, the Cowboys, they can't run the ball very well. And now your passing game is going to be even more hindered because Brandon Cooks is going to be out. He's got an infection. I don't think he's going to be out long term, but he's going to be out for this game specifically. And you're going to be a pass heavy team without your second or third best option in the passing game, going up against on the road versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I said, it's and now Jalen Tolbert and Jake Ferguson become, I think, key figures here, because you need big games from those guys to step up. And we talked about it comparing the the Cowboys and the Falcons in that last night's Thursday night game, and how many guys they had step up. All right, for them, I believe the guy who caught the game-winning touchdown was like a reserve. Cutterell Hodge, he's like a reserve for them, and they moved up and then had a big game. Like, this is what the Cowboys need in this situation. They're gonna need some of the guys who are normally not considered, key components to that offense to step up. And yes, Jalen Tolbert right now is the, kind of the prime, I think, if you will look at it, option that they may be counting on to step up. But Cavante Turpin, if he's, healthy, he's got to come step up and make some big plays. They're going to need the other guys. Like I said, not only a funny movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, but they going to need the other guys to help them win this game. They're not going to win this game without the other guys. And I'm talking about offense and defense. Defense, you're missing now your three best players on defense, three of your four best players. DeMarcus Lawrence going to be out. Michael Parsons going to be out. We already know Deron Bland was out. That's a lot of star power to be missing on defense from a defense that was already struggling, at least versus the run, struggling to stop the run. As one of the worst 5 rush defenses in the league. I think they still are, even after having a great game versus the Giants. I think that the Cowboys might be overwhelmed in this game by the running game. Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, who's been, I think he was a little nicked up too, dealing with some injuries, and he hasn't been great. But the Pittsburgh Steelers have enough options in the run game, and I think Justin Fields has not necessarily been I don't think he has been like a primary weapon for them running the football, but I wouldn't doubt with the issues on the edges that the Cowboys have, because they just don't have their 2 best edge defenders available. I wouldn't doubt they try to get him on the edge, move him around, move the pocket a little bit, give him the option. Hey, if it's open, take it. If it's not, just go run and get those 6-7 yards on the Cowboys edges, and let's test those guys and see if how really just how disciplined they are and keeping contained. Because those are going to be backups for you very much. And you forget about Sam Williams, who's out, so they need the young kid Nealon to step up for him. He's going to have to make some big plays. I just don't see how the Cowboys pull this out. I 32nd in rushing. I don't know how they pull it out.
That's the thing. For me, it's about the offense, because you understand your Steelers, even though they're going to be able to run on you some, it feels like they're going to milk clock, and nothing on that offense is really scary enough for them to go, well, they're going to put up 35 on you or something like that. And you said the magic number is 21. Now they maybe be able to get 21 against this if the Cowboys, especially if Trayvon Diggs ends up having to, not be 100%, just because the injuries, not normally on the Cowboys, but if with injuries this week, it may be a problem. But I think can the Cowboys offense find enough weapons to, if they do, put a safety over the top and bump and run with CD all game, to be able to get to 21 points? Can you get down the field and score and get over 20 points if they're taking away your number one with no Brandon Cooks now? So you're going to have to go to Ferguson, and then you've got to remember there's one of the best defensive ends in the league the last 5-6 years is coming after you in TJ Watt. So
going against a rookie for you, going against your rookie.
He's right? He's going against him or Terrence Steele, or he's going to get
exactly. I would pick your poison.
It's TJ Watt too. I get it. It's not taking a shot, but that's penalties again that puts you behind the 8 ball, takes you out of field goal range. That they'll rush him against Guyton, knowing that he's gotten a few holding penalties. And you go, if they're at like the 35, 38 yard line on a third down, you probably put him against Guyton and go, well, there's a good chance we knock him out of field goal range, even though the guy's got a leg, even though we know Aubrey can kick, get a 10-yard penalty there and push him back a little bit further. That's the biggest issue is I just don't know if they have enough weapons on offense other than Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And if you only have one weapon, it's really hard to consistently score against a good defense.
In this league, it is because at one point they just take away the weapon.
Yeah, and so
they may play you straight up at first and may say, "Hey, let's see if we can." But they shouldn't because you can't take away CD.
But why? Who are you respecting? Who else on the team? I get you're going to respect Ferguson, but maybe other than that,
Jake Ferguson.
I mean, go let Tolbert beat me. Let him get a touchdown on me first, and then I'll show him. But until they do, I need Dak to show me he can methodically walk down the field, picking me apart, hitting different receivers, and those receivers can get separation on one-on-ones, and those receivers can make the catches in one-on-ones, and they can try and get yak yards on one-on-ones. Can they do that? If they can, great, because then this Cowboys team is further along than we thought. Maybe you can find that other receiver. Maybe,
but they haven't proven it yet.
But they haven't yet, and so until I see it, the question is, can you get to 21? I think if you get to 21, you can still win this game.
No, to your point, and it'd be great also if you had a running game. The reason it's
yes,
because you're last in rushing, so you don't have the running game to also help you ease that burden and be able to get yourself in third and manageable situations. You're going to be overly reliant, pretty much kind of a one-dimensional team. And then you're taking away Brandon Cooks. So and then like I said, I think they're going to take away CD, and I agree with you in that aspect. So I'm not sure what the plan's going to be early. If I'm the Cowboys, I have my script. I know it sounds crazy. Some of my scripts, not all of it, because you got to get CD involved. Number one, see if you can figure out a way to manipulate coverage and engineer some matchups for him. But I got to get those other guys involved early. You got to make the Steelers respect some of the other complementary weapons early. If you don't, they just going to take away CD. Then that offense is going to be just stagnant. And I think that's what I would do early. I would try to figure out a way. Jalen Tolbert, Jake Ferguson, get them involved early where the Steelers have to respect those other weapons, where they have to acknowledge them.
And they're also going to start blitzing linebackers and blitzing them more and more on you. If they don't respect anybody else and not your run game or anything else, and they know you're waiting to try and get CeeDee Lamb open on some, a more tricky play to get him open, they're going to start coming with everything they got just to throw off your timing and try and get you to have to throw the ball out. Like you have to be able to have another option. It's going to be big for the run game. If they can get anything going in the run game, just get you in second and third and shorts, that would be huge. They just haven't shown it this year.
And we talked about this too with the Cowboys. They got to start using more motion, pre-snap motion, and more motion at the snap. I've no idea why they're so opposed to it, but 30th in the NFL in motion at the snap, and then I believe less than 50% pre-snap motion rate. It's not the end-all, be-all, but it is a significant cheat code. And for the Cowboys offense not to use a lot of it, considering their deficiencies and glaring holes on offense, that's just crazy. It makes no sense at all. That's an easy way to get CeeDee Lamb open.
Exactly.
A lot of the time is with motion. So I don't get that. That's crazy. But I'm with you. I think they gotta find a way, and they gotta get something done in the run game, even if it's just symbolic. So who's that going to be? Is Dalvin Cook? Is he on the?
I don't believe so.
You heard about traveling? So I haven't heard anything. So I don't know if he's on the traveling squad or not. We haven't heard much. Maybe.
I mean, at this point, either he has not shown anything in practice, and the coaches are like, "Dude, honestly, Deuce Vaughn's better than him. Like he's just this guy's not showing anything. He's washed." Or they're honestly just waiting for an injury. And they're getting them at every single other position, but the one they were like, well, one of these guys will get hurt and we'll call him up. Then the rest of the team got hurt, and the running backs are okay.
They need to trade for running back tomorrow, like right now. I don't know what the Cowboys are waiting on at the running back position. At least your rush defense showed some promise last game.
Yeah,
right. Your rush defense had one of the best run defense performances for any team in any game all season long. So at least you saw some improvement there. Now with Michael Parsons out and DeMarcus Lawrence, I can't imagine it's going to
Yeah,
be
but I'm
a good.
not. Yeah, we can't fully critique it with two defensive ends out.
Yes, exactly. That's my point. I'm like, it's just now.
Do I
I
think you
expect
still
them
should
to
get a D
regress.
tackle in a trade? Yes, 100%.
Hell yes. Yeah.
But
I expect regression this
yeah,
game.
you can't. I mean, yeah, you're talking about one of the best defensive players in the league. Even though he's not great stopping the run, he's still one of the best defensive players in the league. And then DeMarcus Lawrence is no slub either. So it's going to be tough for Dallas to just be able to get any pressure on the quarterback, really stop anything in the run game. But I think if the linebackers play well like they did last week, then you at least won't allow big plays out of the run game. That's what you kind of need to work on a lot this week, is just, making sure that you don't allow guys, TJ Warren or somebody, to break a 40, 50 yarder on you and just flip the game.
Yeah, actually, Jalen Warren's dealing with some injuries, actually, too. So in terms of his availability, that's something I still think that's up in the air. Cordarrelle Patterson is also dealing with. He's been a little nicked up. Remember, they use him also in the backfield as a versatile weapon. So Najee Harris is he's the guy that I think they're going to feature, but he hasn't been having a stellar season in the running game. Now, playing this Cowboys defense with no Michael Parsons, no DeMarcus Lawrence, that may end up boosting his numbers. But if you go look at the 23 backs with at least 50 carries this season, he ranks 19th in average yards after contact, 13th in missed tackles forced per attempt, and 19th on 10-plus yard runs. He's not killing it. So if you end up with those other guys, dealing with injuries, and say maybe one of them is available, or Jalen Warren or Cordarrelle Patterson, and Najee Harris plays like he's been playing, kind of on that baseline, maybe they don't just dominate you in the running game, and you are able to hold your own and force Justin Fields into some third and longs. That's what you want to do.
Exactly.
Force Justin Fields into being a pocket passing.
And I think with Fields as well, you can really focus on the run more and not have to worry about helping out in the pass game, and trust your DBs a little bit more. I know, Trayvon just got on the injury report. Jerron Bland's not back yet. Kalen Carson's been dealing with an injury. So there is some, depth issues as well in the secondary, but you're not going against a prolific passer at any point, so you can kind of back off a little bit on that one. It's not so much that I think that the Steelers are going to dominate them offensive. It's more along the lines, can they score with Brandon Cooks out, with guys beat up on this team, going against a solid defense in the Steelers who doesn't allow a lot of points to anybody, and without just a lot of options, can they still put up the points? No. That's the biggest question.
And against a damn good coach.
Yes.
Like a coach, so you're not going to get some freebies, bad decision making. Tom is a hell of a coach. And can we get this sound from Justin Fields? Because I think he reveals a little something here, and I think it may be helpful to the Cowboys. So there, obviously, I talked about him being a game manager, and that's been a step in growth in his process, in his developmental track. Is that now he can manage a game, and so you get fewer mistakes. Still, maybe don't get as high rewards as you used to with him in terms of him being a high reward player, but you have mitigated the risk in his game very much so. And now completion percentage, he was top 10 there as a starter, and this was obviously through 4 games. Adjusted completion percentage, he was top 10. Yards per attempt, he was 11, so right outside the top 10. Interception percentage, he was top 10. Big time throw percentage, he was top 10. Turnover worthy throw percentage, he was top 10. Best we've seen Justin Fields play, and even on Pro Football Focus passing grade, they had him top 10. He is playing some of his best football right now, and he's managing the game a lot better. And I think it's because they're not putting too much on his plate. This may be something that can help the Dallas Cowboys. Here is Justin Fields when he's asked about being able to check at the line of scrimmage, make audibles at the line of scrimmage, change the plays based on things that he is seeing, and listen to what Justin Fields had to say.
It just depends on the play call. But if we have a run play call, then we're going to stick with that play call. But one thing I'm not going to do is, our offense doesn't roll like that. I put my full trust in Arthur to get us in the right play at the right time. So whatever you call, I'm going to roll with it. But there are some plays that I can check into a different play versus a different coverage or a certain look. But most of our run plays, there's some cans on it depending on what look we get. But so it really just depends on play calls.
It's good news for the Cowboys. I mean, he's basically kind of saying that most of the time when the plays in, the plays in. I'm not changing much at the line of scrimmage. I'm not I'm not modifying anything. That's not really my role. He said, I trust Arthur Smith when he calls the plays, and it's working for him because he's maybe that's less of a burden on him and allows him now to just thrive, being able to think a little bit less and not have to handle a lot of the pre-snap responsibility. And look at passer rating on throws of 10 plus yards. Justin Fields is 7th in the NFL. We've never seen Justin Fields play, this well at the quarterback position. Now he's actually quarterbacking right now. He was just being an athlete playing the quarterback position before, and he was damn good at it. But now he's actually learning how to play quarterback, and we'll see if the Cowboys can take advantage of his growing pains because he's had a few this year. We even seen it, and the reason that Patrick brought up the number 21 is because that is kind of the magic number for beating Justin Fields. I brought this up yesterday. That is the magic number for Cowboys fans in beating Justin Fields. And here's why. Because in his career as a starter, it is kind of remarkable, too. You don't get trends like this that are this glaring. So it's like something's up with it. In his time as a starter, when his team allows more than 20 points in a game, he's 0-22. Over. 0-22. When his so we're talking about when he is 0-22 in those situations, or at least prior to this season. Sorry, this is prior to this season. This is prior to this season. I actually haven't even checked the stat for this season, so I'll go back and check it. But prior to this season, he was 0-22 as a starter when his team allowed more than 20 points. And the Steelers don't often score a lot of points anyway. That's not really their MO. They don't operate that way. So that's why that is kind of the magical number there for him. And in fourth quarter comeback situations, and matter of fact, he just lost one of these. So now he's 27. So I take it back. This is current. I'll take it back because just looking at it is current. So he is 2-17 in fourth quarter comeback opportunities when his team has the ball with a 1-score deficit in the fourth quarter overtime. So he's 2-17. That is the worst winning percentage, by the way, in those situations. He's the worst winning percentage. He is worse than Bryce Young. He's winning only 10% of his games when he's in that situation in the fourth quarter comeback opportunity, and he's only winning 19% of his games, fourth quarter comeback opportunity or game-winning drive. So he is in his career 2-17 in that situation, 0-22 when his opposing team scored more than 20 points. So there you go. That's the magic number for the Cowboys. Got to figure out a way to get to 21 points. They do that. Got to get a chance to beat a Justin Fields quarterbacked team, basically. All right, we come back. We got to talk Texans. We haven't gotten to the Texans yet. They got a revenge game, or at least Stephon Diggs has a revenge game against the Buffalo Bills. And the front runner for the MVP right now is probably Josh Allen. He's coming to town. There is one particular, I think, factor in that may tip the scales in this matchup. And we'll talk about that on the other side in Rod's Rant. We'll just make it a breakdown preview of the Texans-Bills matchup. All right, we'll do that on the other side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Low and Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. We went into kind of an in-depth preview of the Cowboys and the Steelers, and we'll talk some more about that matchup, of course. But I want to dive into the other matchup here with a Texas team, the Texans facing the Buffalo Bills. Great test for the Texans. The Bills are playing some really good football. Well, they were until they got slapped in the face by the Baltimore Ravens, but they're still, I think, one of the true contenders in the AFC. And Josh Allen is playing the best football we've seen Josh Allen play. Period. He's right now playing like the best quarterback in the league, and I believe he's a front runner for the MVP at this point. So he's playing really, really well. But this is the longest that he's gone. The reason that he's playing his best football really is because of the really how responsible he is, all right, with the football. Ball security. He's just the longest that he's gone without an interception in his career. Like that, I think it's the second longest streak of his career without an interception. And everybody knows that Josh Allen is a high risk, high reward player. Has always been, considered that. Well, this offense, he's been able to mitigate the risk. He's taken a lot of the risk out of his game as a player. And right now, like I said, he's playing the best football that we've seen him play. And that's scary. Now, one thing that's not helping him, and I don't really know how this is the case, but I saw this stat and had to go look it up for myself, and it is true. Do you know the Bills are allowing the highest yards per rush in the league? I don't even know how that's possible. They allow a league high 5.7 yards per carry. Teams are getting 3 yards before contact against the Bills. Well, I think a lot of that's skewed by what the Ravens did to them. And Ravens did it to the Cowboys too. So maybe the Ravens are skewing that with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So that could be the case there too. I haven't looked at the stats outside of that and done the math. But I did find that number interesting. The question is, will the Texans have Joe Mixon back? And right now he's, I'm sure, questionable. They don't really know his status for the game just yet. But if he's likely to return, the Texans actually did have a formidable run game. I mean, that was week 1. They actually did have one of the best run games actually in the NFL when Joe Mixon was healthy. And if he is healthy, they can take advantage of maybe the Buffalo Bills being a little, I would say they are somewhat vulnerable, right, in the run game. Because I haven't looked at all the metrics, but I found a few that actually point to, like I said, this could have been skewed by Baltimore. Because Baltimore, like I said, what they did to the Cowboys and what they did to the Bills, they just may be an elite running game. Hell, they may end up with 2 guys close to 1,000 yards rushing with Lamar and with him. I mean, they're crazy right now. But Buffalo allows, and when deploying a light box, and this is why it's important, because the Texans are going to hopefully they're going to force Buffalo into playing with a light box. And if they do that, because of all their weapons, Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins, who's leading the NFL in receiving, I think he's leading the NFL in receiving by damn near 100 yards. Like, Nico Collins is having a monster season, guys. He's on pace for like 2,000 yards receiving. That's a monster season. But we'll get to that in a second. But in order for Texans to, in order for them to compel Buffalo to play with the light box, you have to put their weapons on the field. So they got to go more 11 personnel. Got to run out of 11 personnel. Put Tank Dell out there. Put Stephon Diggs out there. Put Nico Collins out there with Dalton Schultz. Spread them out and force them to play with the light box. And when they play with the light box, how about this number? When deploying light boxes, Buffalo allows 7 yards per carry. Now, that's when they got less than 6 defenders in the box. 6 defenders or less in the box. You got to force them to do that. Now, like I said, a lot of that could have been skewed by what the Ravens are, but the Ravens are actually, they're running some power sets. As we saw against Scott, they're running some power sets actually right now with Ricard on the field, their big fullback. So that's something I didn't expect. And Houston's right now, their league average versus lighter boxes. But if they get, Joe Mixon back, they can expose the Bills there and help their overall issues on third down. We talked about this. They're a team that struggles to gain yardage on first down. And when they run the ball, usually on second and long, which they do 60% of the time early on in the game, they're running the ball early on second and long. They also are one of the worst teams in the NFL. We look at execution and efficiency, 29% success rate, running the ball on second and long, averaging 2 yards per carry. So if they can run the ball on early downs with some success versus this Buffalo defense, that would be, I think, a huge advantage for them on third down whenever they get there, to be third and manageable, not third and 9+ yards to gain, which is what their average is right now through 4 games. They're averaging third and 9. I just had a rant earlier in the show about how the odds flip in favor of the defense. All right, this is for college football, but how they flip in favor of the defense after 3rd and 6, and these dudes are averaging 3rd and 9 on average. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So they gotta do something. If they are averaging 3rd and 9, something like that versus Buffalo, they're gonna lose this game. They're gonna lose to all good teams. Against the Minnesota Vikings, they had 14 third downs, I believe, in that game. And if I'm not mistaken, they had more 3rd and 10s. All right, situations, 3rd and 10+, so 3rd and double digits to gain than any team in any NFL game since 2022. I mean, it was absurd. 13 of their 14 third downs were 3rd and long. Like 13 of the 14 were 3rd and long, 3rd and at least 7 yards to gain. It's unbelievable. Like if they're in that situation, they're gonna lose this game, and not just lose it, they might get mollywopped again.
Yeah. No, I mean, they have to be able to run the ball a little bit. If you look at them week to week, the Bills, the Ravens put up 271 on them, so that kind of skews it a bit.
Skewed everything.
They held the Jags under 100. I think the Cardinals got 139, and then the other game was like
but
1.
Cardinals got a dual threat quarterback that helps them run, so maybe that's it.
And then like a 110 is like somewhere. So there was a couple, but you also throw in Von Miller begins serving his 4-game suspension this week. So you take away Von Miller, who's got 3 sacks on the season. Has not been great in the run game, but 3 sacks on the season. You get him out as well for the Bills because of his suspension now. So you hopefully you be able to find places on that Bills defense. They had to cut a lot of cost on that defense.
Yep.
That's one of those reasons. You know, the DeMar Hamlin story is great. One of the reasons he is a starter right now is because they couldn't keep the guys they had there. And, you know, you just kind of had to go down the depth chart, and he played well enough to get the job. But you want to be able to kind of grind them down a little bit when the team doesn't have a ton of depth. The more you can run on them, the more you can grind them, the easier it makes everything. And
yes, it does. Yep.
You know, you just can't do that with Cam Akers and nobody else. You know, I like British Brooks. I like the British Brooks story at UNC, but I don't necessarily know if he's going to give you big chunks and
yeah, I agree with that.
You know, there's no one really on that roster other than Cam Akers who you feel any confidence with running the football if Dameon Pierce and Joe Mixon are out. And Dameon Pierce, you don't even have a ton of confidence, but you just say, well, it's another viable back that maybe could do something. So we've seen it before. So
exactly.
But I haven't seen that he's going to be available either. So to have 2 guys go down, it's just been a rough stretch. But yeah, you can't go up against a defense that has allowed some runs to go on them and allowed some amount of yards per carry and not get anything and put yourself behind the chains again.
I mean, how about this? Over 70% of Houston's yards have come via the pass.
Yeah.
Which is top 5 in the league. I mean, that's
I guarantee if you go week 2, 3, and 4, it's probably 85. Yeah. Because remember, Joe Mixon had 150 something in that week 1.
Yeah.
So you take without Joe Mixon, once you take week 1 out of the equation, it's got to be even more because they haven't done anything running the ball since then.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's one thing for the Texans. I worry that because the pass protection hasn't necessarily, but you're right. Von Miller is going to be out, but pass protection hasn't necessarily been a strength for them either so far early on this year. And they're throwing the ball that much, and they're in 3rd and longs a lot. You're talking about them throwing basically on every down because they got to throw on early downs. They have to just to keep themselves ahead of the chains because they don't have the run game or even don't have the weapons in the run game, as Patrick mentioned. So that's the concern for me is the pass protection because I think they're going to be pass heavy And can they stay out of those third and long situations? Can they find a way to run the ball in early downs? And turnovers are going to be big in this matchup, guys. Turnovers are going to be huge. Buffalo has turned the ball over for 4.9% of their possessions. That's third in the NFL. The Texans have turned the ball over on 6.8% of their possessions as well. And that is also fourth in the NFL. Turnovers are going to be big in this matchup. And so that and Stephon Diggs is going to be big. Of course, it's a revenge game for Stephon Diggs, so he's already got an emotional charge with this matchup. But the game plan for Buffalo, and if it's not, I'll be shocked, is going to be to take away Nico Collins. Like, they got least the NFL in receiving yards by damn near 100 yards. And there isn't anything that he can't do versus zone, versus man, versus single high, versus two high. Say it doesn't matter. He is elite in all the categories versus any type of defense that he's played against. They're gonna try to take Nico Collins away, and they're gonna be essentially asking the Texans throw it to Stephon Diggs. We don't give a damn if Stephon Diggs has a big game. You'd rather have Stephon Diggs have a big game than Nico Collins. Because he is clear and far and away the number one wide receiver. And he's CJ's go-to guy on third downs. On those third and longs, he's looking for Nico. So just like the Steelers are going to try to take CD away purposefully, intentionally, deliberately, same thing with Nico Collins. So it should be a big Stephon Diggs game, especially if the Texans can't run the football. Diggs and Dalton Schultz and Tank Dell, those guys should have great games because if you're Buffalo, you got to take away Nico. Best receiver in the league right now. And I could say that with my chest. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into what the facts, what the stats on the other side, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for what the facts, what the stats here. Got a bunch of them here. Oh, I promised you this Tennessee stat. So how about this one? Crazy stat. It says here that Tennessee has outgained its opponents by an average of 390 yards a game so far this season. There are 61 FBS teams who are not averaging 390 total yards a game. That's how much they are outgaining their opponents by, on average. That's that's a nasty, nasty stat. That's crazy. The Tennessee's offense is pretty prolific, and I'm planning on going back to watch that Tennessee Oklahoma game and see how Oklahoma's defense, stood up against that Tennessee offense, because it is, like I said, it's kind of like Texas. Like, it's got one that hasn't even necessarily hit its ceiling yet, and it's still pretty damn impressive, like a lethal offense. All right, how about this one? How about this one? Talking about how elite Nick Saban was as a coach, which we all know, but I saw this stat and I thought, man, that really does put into perspective. Since the end of 2006, Alabama has only been truly blown out twice. 2008 Utah, 31-17, and 2018 Clemson, 44-16. They have 8 losses by more than one score. 6 of those, Alabama either led or trailed by only one score in the fourth. How about this one? Only for Nick Saban, only one loss to an unranked team in 16 years, and only the 2 true blowout losses in 17 years. Goodness. I mean, talk about excellence. It was dominant. How about this one? I got another factoid for you. What the facts, what the stats here. Okay, so we've talked about this. Now, this is more of a gambling stat, I guess, than anything. But how about this? So far this season, this is from the NFL, we've had just 15 quarterbacks throw for 300 plus yards. Those 15 quarterbacks, 6-9 straight up in those games, and 3-11, 3-11-1 against the spread. That's crazy. So you had 15 quarterbacks throw for 300 plus yards, and those 15 quarterbacks, 6-9 straight up, and 3-11-1 against the spread. Through 2 weeks, you had 5 quarterbacks throw for 300 plus yards. None of those teams had covered the spread at all. They were 0-4-1 against the spread. The first time since 1980, no team with 300 plus yards had covered in the first 2 weeks. It's just something about, I guess, in this league, obviously, with a lot of teams adjusting their defensive approach to have a lot of too high safeties take the deep shots and take the vertical shots away. There's more value, I think, in running the football than there's ever been, and more value in throwing it underneath than there's ever been, like short dink and dunk passes. And now, for some reason, didn't happen to Kirk Cousins last night. That's a little different. So that stat was prior to Kirk Cousins. I will say that was prior to last night. So now, I guess the stat would be a little bit different. It'd be 7. Yeah, it'd be 7-9 right now, because straight up, just because Kirk Cousins threw for 500 plus yards last night, set a franchise record, and they end up winning the game in overtime. So there you go. Another what the facts, what the stats there to share with you. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into the game last night. We'll review the matchup last night in the NFC South between the Bucs and the Falcons. Falcons pulling out the win in clutch time in overtime. We'll get into that. We'll also go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk a little Texas football. Longhorns are undefeated and in the bye week, but we'll still talk a little Texas football. Tell you why that freshman class is so impressive. Pro Football Focus showing some love there. And we'll also get into third and long and the Texas defense and why they're so good on third and longs this season. We'll talk about all that and more when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friend, Dr. Greg Eckert, and he can be your friend too, but hey, you want him to be your dentist because he's the best dentist in Austin. I went to him initially for just a routine cleaning and checkup, and when I went there, they're thorough in their checkups, and they found that my wisdom teeth were growing in sideways. I was on the verge of a disastrous situation, but there was no need to worry because I was in great hands. They made sure that I was educated, informed about the entire process, and got the procedure scheduled. Make sure I was comfortable with the procedure, got everything done. I was back at work within a couple of days. And thanks to Dr. Eckert and his wonderful team, my dental health and dental hygiene have never been better. And they can do the same for you. Now, hopefully for you, it's not as serious as having all your wisdom teeth extracted. But if it is, you're in great hands. But hopefully it's a routine checkup or a cleaning. Doesn't matter if it's general dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain, crowns, veneers, dental implants, hell, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Eckert and his team are all about. And right now, because he's always on the cutting edge of the technological advances in general dentistry, Dr. Eckert and his team can give you a brand new smile in just 1 day, permanently secured to your dental implants. You'll spend no time without teeth. You'll get temporary fixtures first until they complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. We're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, or you need dentures, or you already have dentures and you're unhappy about them, how about you hit up Dr. Eckert today? It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but so much to gain. And you can learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures, because a confident smile can truly change your life. And Dr. Eckert wants to change your life for the better. He's done it for so many, and he can do it for you as well. 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166. And right now, if you tell me you heard it on the horn, you'll get free Zoom whitening with whatever treatment or procedure you're getting at Dr. Eckert's office. So visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. Welcome back to the Rodcast. We like to call it a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! 512 Football Friday edition of the Rodcast. And that 512 means that my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, has decided to play jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Donovan Keith, and he is playing Saturday at Geraldine's.
There you go. Geraldine's. Oh, it's good food there, actually. You
Yeah,
have
good
eaten at
food.
Geraldine's before.
Nice little room to
Nice
listen to
spot.
some
Yeah.
music and
Nice ambiance there.
yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Appreciate Patrick hooking us up with all the jams for our musically themed days of the week. Also, we appreciate him hooking us up with the great conversation starter for the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is already posted on the X account for the Horn at the Horn ATX. Patrick, what is the topic for the big fat poll of the day?
Big fat poll today. What has been Texas football's biggest strength so far this season? Made it easy. Pass offense, run offense, pass defense, and run defense. Right now, the pass offense winning with 60% of the vote. The pass defense getting 27%. The run defense getting 11 and 2% for the run offense.
Yeah, that's crazy that the pass defense went from the weakest element of the team last season to now people are saying or making the argument that it's the strength of the team. So if it's the second biggest strength on the team, that still says a lot. Because last year the argument was that's why you lost your 2 games.
Yeah.
Well, big reason why was because red zone offense also didn't help the situation. But yeah, because your pass defense couldn't hold up against Washington, couldn't hold up against Dylan Gabriel and Oklahoma, and now it's one of the best pass defenses in the country. So that shows you a lot of growth from that group. But that group really did take a huge step in the offseason. And I'm happy for them because they were challenged in the offseason. I said several times they were the only group that hadn't really shown exponential improvement since Sark had gotten here. The secondary was the only group who was like, well, linebacker, we had seen a lot of growth. D-line, of course. O-line, of course. Quarterback, of course. Wide receiver, of course. Tight end, of course. Like running back, every position that's pretty much we had seen take a leap of improvement and start to thrive on the 40 acres under Sark, but the secondary really hadn't.
No, and then you lost a bunch of transfers in the safety room.
Yep, you lost. Oh yeah, you lost a ton. Yeah, you lost some of your best. You lost a lot of your leaders in interceptions in the secondary. Jaron Thompson left. He was elite. Terrence Brooks was one of your leaders in interceptions. Yeah. He had 3. He left. Crawford was one of your rotational safety picks. He left. You lost basically 2.5 starters out of the secondary.
You had Catalan back there. He left.
You left Catalan. Yeah, he started out as a starter, ended up having injuries. Actually, he's at UNLV now, I think, right?
Did he go over there as well? See,
I thought he was at UNLV, and I think he's still playing. Usually by now he gotten hurt. Knock on wood. Wishing the best for the young man. Because I was a big fan of Jaden Cal.
We all were. We all wanted to.
Think about. He was such a good player. He just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, UNLV. Stay
healthy. Yeah. Brendan Marion brought him on over. Good move.
Seems
I believe he's having a good season too. I think he's having a good season.
I mean, they're undefeated, so I think they all have to be, right?
Yeah, that's true. Does anybody have a bad season when you're undefeated? No, Who's having a bad season for Texas? Who's having a bad season? Is it the kickers? Because they're not getting any chances? That's not a bad season. You know what I mean? They didn't have a punt. Like, I don't know. Is anybody having a bad year?
I guess who's not playing?
Well, yeah. Well, they can't say they're having a bad year. They just haven't been able to show anything. But I don't know if anybody's having. I mean, Jaden Blue just had a bad game. But bad game don't mean having a bad year. He had just come off his best game. He had his best game of his career and his worst game of his career. Well, in back-to-back games, how does that happen?
Get a little,
right? It's basically kind of how
you get confident, you feel good about yourself, and then you don't protect the ball properly.
I guess you're right.
Gotta mind.
Definitely happened.
Hey, it's a good life lesson. Mind the details.
Amen to that, brother. Yeah, but I don't know if anybody's having a bad season. I guess you're right. When you're undefeated, nobody's having a bad. Yeah. It's almost selfish to say you're having a bad season.
I just looked up UNLV's last game against Fresno. Jalen Catalan led the team in tackles.
Look at this dude. Thriving out there in the desert. Huh? Good for him. I'm glad he's staying healthy because we all love him. We thought he was going to be on. I thought he was going to come here and be an all-conference caliber player. He's got that kind of talent. He just can't ever start healthy. When he's healthy, he usually ends up being one of the better defenders on the field, period, when he's healthy. But, hey, man, the number one ability is availability. Trust me on that, because my NFL career ended because I did not have that ability. I was never available. Soon you will get cut. You can't make the club in the tub. All right, we got to talk about the game last night. Bucks and Falcons ended up being a great Thursday night game. We don't usually get a lot of Thursday night thrillers, but we got a Thursday night thriller last night. Ended up going in overtime. Falcons pull out the win in dramatic fashion. We'll talk about that and break it down. Got a couple of observations about that game last night. And I'm not going to say Blackstradamus called it because I didn't. But I did have a rant yesterday about how the Falcons offense had not had its breakout game yet. And they haven't necessarily weaponized all of these elite pieces around at the skill positions around the quarterback. And I was also, because I picked him to actually win that division, because I said, man, if they actually are able to activate all those weapons offensively, and I thought Zach Robinson coming in with the McShanahan, principles from that coaching tree, and I was a big Raheem Morris fan because he was one of my coaches when I was in the league at Tampa, so I was a sentimental connection, and I liked Raheem Morris as a coach. I mean, this guy, he has a hell of a football mind. He really does. Remember, I told you guys, he went at one point with Atlanta when he was there with Dan Quinn. He went from being the wide receiver coach one year to being defensive coordinator the next year. Like, people don't usually have that kind of transition at the NFL level. That's now Belichick did some stupid stuff like that, but this is different. He did that with his whole coaching staff a couple of years ago, or this last year coaching. That's different. But for him to have that kind of football acumen and football IQ, he's Belichickian. Remember I told you guys I love Belichickian coaches who are able to have expertise in more than one phase of the game. That was Raheem Morris. So I was really high on the Falcons, but I hadn't seen it so far this year. So I challenged them. I did not necessarily predict it, but I would say Drake London had his best game so far. Kyle Pitts had one of his best games. Bijan looked good. I think they still can. There's another level to unlock with Bijan. Actually, a couple of levels that they need to unlock with Bijan. But Bijan was still good. They just had a lot of weapons, and those are even some of the guys that made some of the biggest plays, like Kadero Hodge, who caught the game-winning touchdown, or Mooney, who caught another brilliant touchdown actually earlier in the game. Falcons got some weapons. They got some depth, man. They got some scary guys, some twitchy guys. They're twitchy. Whole damn team is twitchy. There's a twitchy team, except at quarterback, but everybody else is twitchy. You know what I mean? Kyle Pitts is twitchy, and Bijan, and even that dude Hodge, Mooney, Ray McLeod. These guys are just twitchy. It seems like something that the scouts and the evaluators, their front office, they cover. We want twitchy guys. Everybody's twitchy with us. The Cowboys don't have enough twitchy guys. More twitch, man. I like my Twitch fan. I think I like saying it now because I've said it.
Yeah.
So
Does that word have any meaning to you anymore?
I think once I said it once, I just wanted to keep saying it.
Kept saying it, yeah. And then eventually it means nothing.
I guess true. All right, let's get to something that does mean something to us. That is the Horn headlines. Let's get to it, Patrick Davis. Let's get educated, informed, and updated with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB playoffs, the Mets beat the Brewers 4-2 yesterday with a ninth inning rally to be the final team to advance from the wild card round. The divisional series are now set, with the Tigers taking on the Guardians, the Mets facing the Phillies, the Royals versus the Yankees, and the Padres going up against the Dodgers, with all series starting on Saturday. In college football, with many teams taking a bye week, including Texas, there is only one matchup of top 25 teams this weekend between number 9 Missouri and number 25 Texas A&M. Other games of interest include tonight's matchup of undefeated UNLV against Syracuse and number 10 Michigan facing Washington, and number 8 Miami taking on Cal. In the NFL, the Falcons got a 36-30 win after forcing overtime with the last-second field goal. Kirk Cousins threw for 509 yards and 4 touchdowns in the game on 58 pass attempts. On Sunday, the Texans take on the Bills in Houston, while the Cowboys travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Injuries are a major concern for Dallas, with several star players still currently questionable or out of the game. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. I appreciate those. And man, I don't think we've seen Kirk Cousins was in the zone. That's all you really can say. Kirk Cousins was just in the zone, playing lights out. That was a hell of a game by him. Set the franchise record, of course, for passing yards with over 500 passing yards. And one of the things that I noticed, and I saw this stat, I think Next Gen, yeah, shout out to Next Gen. All of his passing yards, every last one of them came from inside the pocket. They did not force him to abandon the pocket at any time. He didn't have to get outside of it and make any plays. That was a fortress of solitude for him. He did have one interception, but 4 touchdowns, 509 yards. It was the most passing yards from the pocket. All right, because usually a quarterback will abandon the pocket at some point, roll out, it's going to be some type of bootleg, or maybe he's got a scramble. No, some scramble drill. Nope, none of that. Everything came from the pocket. The most passing yards from the pocket since 2016. And Kirk Cousins had 385 passing yards between the numbers. And he spread the ball around to a lot of different guys. I mean, it's Kyle Pitts, most receiving yards for him, 88 since his rookie season. So all the Kyle Pitts truthers out there, they were having a great night. Drake London, I complained yesterday about not only Kyle Pitts and him. I think he's getting like 15% of the targets. And remember when we played the audio, I believe. Do we have this of Raheem Morris? This is prior to the game. This is earlier this week, after last week's game, I should say, where he's asked about Kyle Pitts's target share and him getting, I think it was 0 catches in the game. And everybody was like, not only fantasy people were upset, but even the media, why is he not more involved in the offense? Here's what Raheem Morris had to say at that time.
Hey, Coach, Rashad Milligan here. I wanted to ask you about, you said there were some things that you guys can work on and you're glad it happened in the win. One thing that was kind of like eye-popping on the stat sheet is Kyle Pitts, 0 catches today. Just how cognizant are you of getting him more involved?
It's just about going out there, winning the game when you're out there and you're playing. He had a couple targets today, had a couple things going out that way. We believe we got a questionable call at the end of the stretch again to Kyle. And, those things are always unfortunate. But, really for me, man, stats are for losers, man. I don't get involved in that stuff. But you go out there, you try to win each game, and we were able to win it today. And that's what we did.
Stats are for losers, right? Yeah, but 88 yards. I'm sure a lot of those losers are celebrating their fantasy football teams. So they decided to draft Kyle Pitts. That's the most receiving. So to go from 0 targets one week and the next week to go to the most receiving yards you had since you were a rookie, maybe they did try to get him the football, or maybe it was just Kirk Cousins was on and he was in his zone, and Kyle Pitts benefited just like a lot of guys, and Drake London too. Drake London, we talked about him yesterday, hadn't asserted himself as a true wide receiver one. 13 targets, 12 receptions, 154 yards and a touchdown. That's wide receiver one stuff. So it was the coming out party for the Atlanta Falcons offense. That's why I initially picked the Atlanta Falcons to win that division, because I thought that offense is going to have way too many weapons for teams to be able to defend. I don't know. As long as the defense isn't a sieve, as long as the defense is not, one of the bottom 10 defenses in the league, they should be able to score a lot of points. They hadn't been doing that prior to this game. Of course, this was one of their breakout games. This was their highest scoring game of the season. But I think this may be a trend for them, like the start of one anyway, because Kirk Cousins didn't look like the same quarterback at the beginning of the season either. For those first couple of games, Kirk Cousins looked like he was still injured. He wasn't pushing the football downfield vertically as much, wasn't throwing deep outside the numbers as much. In this game, you go look at his passing chart, there was no area of the field that was off limits to him, or that he was favoring or hindered from attacking one area of the field. He was all over the field, and he was on every area of the field. So Kirk Cousins is probably healthy, and I still think they haven't unlocked Bijan. You said it, Patrick. Bijan had a good game. I mean, he had an okay game. I mean, he was in my opinion, he was productive, but I still think, considering what I've seen and where he was drafted and his capability as a player, they still haven't unlocked him yet. But I'll give Zach Robinson credit. Easily the most creative game we've seen from Zach Robinson as the new OC. They ran 81 plays. 81 plays in an NFL game. That's wild, actually.
Yeah. I mean,
even overtime, that's still a lot of plays.
That's a lot of plays. And what also threw me off surprised me, was they were able to get yak yards on plays that wouldn't normally get you yak yards.
Like the game winner.
Like the game winner is just a perfect example. Game winner, he's standing still and then runs in for a touchdown. That is very hard to do. And I mean, it's a missed tackle. We can start there. It's a missed tackle, but They had several plays where it wasn't necessarily him scheming a guy wide open on the run like Sark does a lot, and that guy was still able to get another 15 yards or something like that, or another 10 yards after the catch. And just seeing those kind of plays, you get the right kind of players in there at wide receiver, and the system seems to work a little bit more. And I think that's kind of where Bijan they need to find a space for Bijan to get him in a little bit more space. And then you could open him up a little bit more. He's averaging 5 yards a carry, getting touched to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he does. You're right about that. He gets hit at the line of scrimmage, but he can still, we know that he's got great broken tackle ability or force miss tackle ability. They tried on screens. I remember watching him. He had like 2 or 3 screens in that game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many catches he had, but I feel like they tried to get him the ball in the screen game too. I just think that's the ceiling for this team, or at least the ceiling for the offense is really high, just because I still think you can unlock Bijan. He had 3 catches for 16 yards, and I believe at least 2 of those, maybe even all 3, were screen passes, if I'm not mistaken. So they tried, but you're right, 5 yards per carry. Bijan's had a down year overall because he's only averaging 4 yards per carry on the season. He's only got 1 touchdown on the season. And I saw Tyler Algier in there way too much again, in my opinion. I like him, and that's the thing about the Falcons offense. Not only are they twitchy, I just want to use that word again, but they got a lot of good complementary pieces, man.
Algier,
like even Tyler Algier's
we saw him. He got 6 carries for 12 yards. I felt like watching the game. It felt like more than that. I don't know why.
It did. I felt like he was in there too much.
But he got 6 carries for 12 yards. When I looked at the box score the next day, I was like, no, that's not a lot.
Yeah.
But
right.
Bijan only got 12 carries in the game. So it's not like, so he doubled him up in carries, but they just didn't run the ball a lot. But it felt like Algier was in there more. I don't know why.
I didn't realize that. You're right. I didn't realize that. But I'm with you. I felt like he was still playing a little too much, but you're right. I can't hate on that. 6 carries is about what you want for the workload for Tyler. He did have 3 catches too.
Yeah.
I think they just like him situationally. And you want to take some of the burden off of Bijan. I get that. But I don't know. I'm biased. I want them to unlock Bijan a little bit more. They have not since Bijan, really in this offense. They really haven't gotten in sync yet with him. But the other guys, I'll admit, Drake London hadn't gotten in sync with the offense until this game, and neither had Kyle Pitts. So maybe the Bijan game is coming, and they can unlock all.
I will say, I think you're dead on if in the pocket Kirk Cousins too. Because just watching him, and that was there was ones where Bijan looked like he should have been the target when the pocket would collapse or when he would get chased out, and he just couldn't put the ball over to him when he was moving. So I think there may be something to be said of if Kirk Cousins has to move, this offense is going to fall apart. But if Kirk Cousins has time, he can be deadly. Just watching just a few plays of him getting chased, it didn't look like he could do much or put anything on the ball. Didn't have the arm strength or the power to just push the ball when he can't put his legs into it and set.
That's a good point, actually.
So it may be something like that. You may be dead on with that number of look what he did when he was able to stand still and set his feet.
Yeah. And a lot of your screens and stuff, you're moving around. The quarterback's moving around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes with that kind of stuff. Yeah, I never thought about that, but you're right. Could be. But either way, I think Kirk Cousins looked better. And I picked the Bucs in this game, so I'll be straight up about that. I picked the Bucs. Thought the Bucs to win. Still think the Bucs. I mean, it was close. The Bucs should have won. I mean, honestly, I would say that about all the Falcons wins. How about this? Because I brought this number up earlier. Shocking number. I'm not real big into win probabilities, but I'll bring it up this time. And this because this stat is mind blowing. So in all the 3 wins, and the the Falcons have won 2 in a row. They won 3. Now they're 3-2. The Falcons' 3 wins have come despite having a win probability in the last 2 minutes of each game of 2.4% versus Philadelphia, 14% versus New Orleans, and 7% versus Tampa Bay. That was their win probability in the last 2 minutes of each of their wins. And they still find a way to win those damn games. They should be 0-5. Like they could easily be an 0-5 team, but they're not. They're 3-2. They're finding a way to win close games, finding a way to pull out games in the clutch. And honestly, that's why they have right now a lead in the division. They are, I believe, the division leaders now after that division win over the Bucks. So good for the Falcons. Also, something we don't talk enough about because Baker had a decent game too. Man, I don't think we've ever really discussed how good Mike Evans is and how good he's been for so long.
Yeah, he's really
Dude,
good.
you realize with wide receivers with 100+ total touchdowns in their first 160 games. First of all, to play 160 games in the league is crazy. But here's a list of receivers with at least 100 total touchdowns in the first 160 games: Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, T.O., Marvin Harrison Sr., and Mike freaking Evans. Isn't that crazy? Like he's
It
a
is.
first ballot Hall of Famer.
I know.
Basically.
I think we don't talk about him because he's an Aggie.
That's fair. I really didn't even think about that, but yes, that could be part of it. All right, for this, we talk about Baker. Baker's a Sooner.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? We talk Baker a little bit, but Baker's from Austin, though, and we kind of an
Yeah,
Austin
kind of
show,
evens
so
out a
that's
little bit.
different.
Little
Yeah,
bit.
that's true.
No.
A little bit. You might be right about that, but let me do it now and acknowledge, dude. Mike, and if you look at like the ASS ratings, which is the average separation score, get your mind out of the gutter. But if you look at it every week, he's always in the top 10. And like the average, like and these guys going into what? How long has he been in the league? Like 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this was the year they almost moved on from because he's such a veteran.
Yep, you're right. And I think they're glad they kept him because
Yeah.
he's still making plays. He scored 2 touchdowns last night. Yeah, so Mike Evans, we some Mike Evans appreciation segment a little bit. I didn't realize that he was on the verge of being a first ballot Hall of Famer. I figured, oh no, he'll be in discussion, but no, like first ballot kind of guy.
And because of Tom Brady, he's got the ring too,
and he's got the ring. Yep, because of Tom freaking Brady's got the ring. Yeah, no, he's having a hell of a year too. So the Bucks come up short in that matchup versus the Falcons. Falcons offense.
Also to throw in that
stellar.
the Falcons trying to shoot themselves. They missed 2 field goals in that game. One was a miss and one was a block.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, they had another special. Matter of fact, they allowed those big returns.
Yeah,
on special teams.
They allowed
like
big returns. Special teams did not do them justice. That first missed field goal too was crazy because they missed it, but it was offsides, and he went, "Wow, what a great break!" And then he kicked it the exact same way again. Like it missed the exact same spots.
Exact same way.
Wow, that is hard to do.
No, you're right about that. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Their special teams was if they'd have lost this game, everybody would have been pointing to how bad the special teams was.
Yeah, I mean, if you lose by 3 and you miss 2 field goals, tend to point to that.
That would have been. You're right. That has been the headline actually, because they had a few miscues on special teams. Some they got to clean up, like I said. But I just think offensively, because I think offensively right now they have a chance to be among the best offenses in the league.
Yeah,
they do. I think they got that kind of chance. I don't know if they'll be there, but they got that kind of potential. Defensively, special teams wise, they need to work on those phases because they can win that division with this offense where they are, but they're not going to make a run or anything like that unless they clean up some of the other phases because they did make a lot of mistakes on special teams. All right, so that is my take on the game. I got a couple of other things that I want to get into, but we can save that for later on in the show. I want to talk some Texas football here. I want to leave some time so we can get into Texas football conversation on the side. 2 things I want to talk about: Texas defense and 3rd and long. So something that I've noticed how this defense approaches that particular situation. So we'll get into it and dive into that. And Pro Football Focus showing some love to a couple of Longhorns that may indicate that they are on pace, or at least on track, to be honored as freshman All-Americans. We'll talk about that. Does Texas have one of the best, if not the best, freshman class in the country in college football? That's something that we'll talk about on the other side. Lots of Longhorn news, notes, and nuggets coming back at you right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation here behind the burnt orange curtain. A couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, shout out to Kyle Flood and Tashard Choice. We were watching the game last night, and on my timeline, a picture of Kyle Flood and Tashard Choice at the Atlanta game, between Atlanta between Atlanta and the Bucks. They were there. They were on a recruiting visit, and I guess on a recruiting visit they were able to book it where they also were able to go to the game to support Bijan, and that was pretty cool seeing that come across my timeline. And they were up there recruiting the most fertile recruiting metro area in the country. I mean, there is no metro area in America that is producing more NFL talent than Atlanta in the last 5 years. Nobody. The Metroplex is second, but it is a second, it's not a distant second necessarily, but it is a clear and decisive second place behind Atlanta. Atlanta is clearly the leader and the most fertile recruiting ground arguably in the country right now. That's part of the reason Georgia has been on this dynastic run, is because they discovered that kind of before everybody else, and now everybody else has picked up on it, and there is a race in the SEC pretty much with the powers in the SEC to claim market share of Atlanta. Get your market share. That's why having Tashard Choice, who's got a lot of history in Atlanta for Sark, was big, and also getting Kenny Baker on the staff, who also was from that Atlanta area. Getting those guys on the staff was big because you need guys with roots in the Atlanta area so that you can try to get market share there. And you'll try to get more and more players from the Atlanta area as you become more and more entrenched into the SEC. So that's why they were there, and I'm glad that they went there to support Bijan. That was pretty cool.
And if you saw the Sark's Instagram today, you saw that Sark has posted that he will be in H-Town today. He'll be in Houston. Him taking the chopper to Houston. Got the video of the helicopter taking off, the all black with the little Longhorn SEC logo on it.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah, that logo. Somebody already commented SEC logo way too big. Logo. Longhorn, typical Longhorn fan. The SEC logo is a little too big. The Longhorn should be bigger than the SEC logo. Honestly, I don't know why it's that big. Why are they even close to the same size? But that's pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie, that's legit. I honestly, I wish I was born just later in life, because of being a student athlete is just so cool now.
Yeah.
I mean, you get paid, number one. So way better than any other time in the history of college athletics to be a student athlete. This is it. Because you get paid NIL money, number one. You ain't got to be necessarily good to get it now. You just got to hit the transfer portal and see what your market value is. So once Rod B made all conference, let's hit that transfer portal. Let's get this cash. You know what I mean? Or your school would bump you, right? You've seen that with Texas. Like, oh, no, you're playing like an all-conference player. Let's get you that Lambeau deal. Like, that's amazing. And you have options, right? Say, your coach leaves, or, you don't like it where you are, or your coach doesn't like you, or say you're not going to get, playing time, whatever the situation, you can always just transfer wherever you want to without penalty. But now you get this type of stuff too. Like, there was nobody flying helicopters to players practicing and stuff when I was being recruited. I was doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? It was cool when the coaches came to the school. You're like, oh, coach to the school, that's pretty cool. Now they're flying helicopters and landing them like on the practice field at the high school. And it's just like, so I just hops out like, what's up, man? Hey, you know what? We want you to come to Texas. This is the kind of stuff we do. You're great, man. Love you. Man.
So I didn't want to put the mileage on my Lambo.
Right? It's like, man, it's a great time to be a student athlete.
But Rod, be glad you're not, because right now you'd be having to listen to Shedeur Sanders music. You went in Colorado if you'd gone to college right now.
Yeah. I definitely would have taken that visit to Deion. Deion would have got me. Not to commit. I still think I would have committed to Texas. I can't say that it's a guarantee, but I believe I still would have committed to Texas. And honestly, Sark may not even recruited me these days, but I would have taken the visit to go see Deion. Deion was my favorite player. So I would have taken the visit to see Deion. Deion would have been in my top. That would have been Colorado was already in my top 5. Back in the day, I went to Colorado. Rick Newhouse was the coach. So I liked Boulder and I liked Colorado even at the time. But now you add Deion to the mix, there's a good chance they would have been in my top 2. Because A&M was in my top 2 back then. And honestly, I can't guarantee A&M would have been in the top 2 these days. I don't know if I was seeing the same. They were coming off winning the Big 12, guys, in 1998. It was a wrecking crew. That was a different perception of A&M as a program back then.
Yeah.
They don't have that perception anymore. That was still a cool factor to A&M back then. I don't now. Maybe I'm biased because I don't think they're cool because I'm a Longhorn. Right? Back then, I was not. So
I don't
I'll
know.
admit, back then I did not have as much burnt orange in my closet as I do now, and I did not think burnt orange was a good looking color. I still don't think it's a great color, but now I'm a little bit more appreciative of burnt orange as a color. But I don't think these days I would have thought A&M was the program for me. I definitely would have included Texas because Texas has that cool factor. Colorado would have been there because I love me some Dion. I'm trying to think of who my top 5 would be. I would have wanted to stay close to the state though. So, maybe A&M would have been thrown in
Maybe
there.
an LSU, maybe in there.
LSU would probably be it. You're right. It'd be an LSU because I got family in Louisiana. You're right.
Yeah,
Patrick,
good DB school.
It'd have been LSU at this point. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Texas would have been up, but it'd have been LSU. Texas and Colorado still stay in there. Penn State was in my top 5. Would they make it these days? No way. No way. I'm not going to Penn State. No. Psh, please.
Hey, you're glad you didn't go then too.
No, trust me. And that was during the Sandusky years.
Yes.
You're damn right on that. You're damn right. Here's the defensive coordinator. I've been working close with Sandusky.
No, your head coach has been 20 years older than Mac Brown is now.
I know. Joe Paterno was, I met Joe Pa too back then. And Joe Pa I admired him. That's part of the reason I know now I'm ashamed of it. Like I thought Joe Pa was cool. Turns out he's disgusting, deplorable old, anyway. I don't even, I shouldn't be talking about that, about the people that passed away. I apologize. I don't mean to get into that. Anyway, let's talk Texas football. All right. Let's get into the Texas, first of all, Pro Football Focus. They actually ranked, they posted a graphic ranking their highest graded true freshmen in the Power 4. And the 2 highest graded freshmen in the Power 4, according to Pro Football Focus and their measurements and their grades, I should say, is they got Ryan Wingo and Colin Simmons as the top 2 highest graded true freshmen in the Power 4. They got Colin Simmons number 1. He's at 89.3 in his Pro Football Focus grade. Ryan Wingo's at 83.9, his Pro Football Focus grade. Dylan Raiola, he wants to be the Patrick Mahomes doppelganger. He is at 81.8. He's 3rd highest graded true freshman. He is a stud, though. He's really good. And then Jeremiah Smith, he's the Ohio State wide receiver, 81.6. And then 81.3 in the top 5 is Ryan Williams, the fabulous wide receiver from Alabama, who's at 81.3. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's really impressive for Texas. That's why the future is so bright. That's why Longhorn fans are so excited, because the argument can be made that if you look at the top 3 or 4 players at some of these positions, edge, defender, wide receiver, that, your best players or some of the best players in that group would be freshmen, like really young players. And that's the case at wide receiver, in my opinion. That's the case at edge, clearly, with Colin Simmons and Ryan Wingo. Then you start looking at, linebacker, a young Anthony Hill, cornerback. You start talking about Malik Muhammad, who's a young player, and that's still one of your best cover guys. They got some really good young talent for Texas that is starting to, be showcased and starting to assert itself and ascend. And that's and in addition to all the older guys, your Gunnar Helms and your Barron Sorrells, guys who've been in the system, they're thriving. All right. So they're playing really well. But then you got the young guys who are also, their developmental rate actually maybe even faster than some of those guys, those older guys who are now the veterans in the room and the OGs of those rooms. But you got Barron Sorrell and Colin Simmons. Barron Sorrell, I think, is the best overall edge defender you have right now. Where's Colin Simmons? 3rd, maybe? Some people will probably even put him right behind Barron Sorrell as your 2nd best edge defender right now. That is really promising for the Longhorns. So shout out to those guys, and shout out to Sark and the staff for the development, because I think that's really something that's highlighted too. These guys are playing well, and everybody's got different developmental tracks, right? The Barron Sorrell, Gunnar Helm track is a little bit different than some of the prodigies you see, like a Kelvin Banks or a Colin Simmons or Ryan Wingo for that matter. But I like how everybody's, you can either way. I mean, Texas can show guys they're recruiting, hey, we can develop you as a guy we believe in 4 or 5 years that can be an NFL player, or we can develop you as a guy who believe you're an NFL player already. We just we just need you to come play your 3 years at Texas. Like, you're gonna be an NFL player no matter where you go. Some guys, it's true. Like, no matter where Ryan Wingo went, he was gonna play in the NFL.
Yeah.
Colin Simmons, no matter where he could have went to Iowa State, he can go to Delaware State, and the NFL will find. Maybe he won't be, he won't achieve the levels he will at Texas, but that dude can go to Prairie View A&M and he would be an NFL player. It would not matter. Kelvin Banks is the same way. There's some guys who's like, no, it's not gonna matter. Your development, you're taking. Remember, Sark said that we played the Colin Simmons cut yesterday, and he was like, I can't take credit for that. That dude just his BGO, that's God given. Maybe mom and dad can take credit for that. That's genetics. That's God. I can't do that. That's not me. I'm not developing that. And that's his elite quality right now that's got him 4 sacks. Right. And they're going to refine him and do other things. But some guys, they just have that kind of ceiling ultimately. And those are kind of the prodigies. Doesn't matter. But not everybody's like that. And they need development. They need to pack on muscle and mass and cultivate their craft and technique and become more football savvy and increase their acumen and IQ and all those things, just like I did, and transform themselves into an NFL player or be transformed into one. But you got all those different stories on the 40 acres, which is really cool. Okay, so let's talk 3rd and long real quick. So 3rd and long, I've often gone through this this breakdown. And I did research a couple of years ago about 3rd and long situations because I was really curious about why 3rd and longs are considered the money downs. And I found what I believe is the reason 3rd and longs are money downs. So this is just college research. This is just in the FBS. If you look at every 3rd and X situation to go, all right, 3rd and 1 to gain, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. I looked at every 3rd and X yards to gain situation and looked at yards per play that were gained on average in that situation, the negative play percentage, the pass percentage in those situations. And when you look at all of those different metrics, 3rd and everything, 3rd and 5 or less, the yards per play always exceeds the yards to gain. All right. So on average in the research that I did, this is from 2021, your yards per play on 3rd and 5 or less always exceeded your yards to gain, your yards to go. All right. In that situation, which means on average, offense was winning in those situations. They would get the yardage needed. Your negative play percentage was always in single digits in 3rd and 5 or less to gain. So 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. Your negative play percentage was always in single digits. And your pass percentage never rose above 70%, or actually 69% in those situations. But right at 3rd and 6, things start to shift. The odds start to shift in favor of the defense. 3rd and 6 to go. Teams average fewer yards per play than yards to gain. So, they and 3rd and 7 and on. So basically 3rd and 6 or more to gain. You actually averaged fewer yards per play on any of those scenarios. 3rd and 6 or more. You average fewer yards per play than yards to gain. So that's when it flipped in favor of the defense. Now, I think they do 3rd and 7 as 3rd long because 3rd and 6 still be considered 3rd and medium. 3rd and short is 3rd and 3 or less. 3rd and medium is 4, 5, and 6, and then 3rd and long 7 plus. But at 3rd and 6 is finally when your negative play percentage finally bumps up to double digits. So there's a higher chance of the defense making splash plays, havoc plays, because the offense is allowing more negative plays then. And your pass percentage jumps into to the low 70s, 73%. In 3rd and 7, your pass percentage is 77%. Third 9, 80%, you get it. So 3rd and 7, you know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to throw the football 70, damn near 75% of the time. And there's more of a chance for you to cause a negative play on defense too, because you know what they're going to do. Get after the passer, get a sack, tackle for loss, force a negative play. And on average, they don't convert 3rd and 6 or more, as much as they do, of course, 3rd and 5 or less. So with that being said, that's when a lot of defensive coordinators break out their most, exotic looks and exotic packages in that scenario where the odds flip in favor finally of the defense. In Johnny Nansen and Texas, this is the case. And Texas has been fantastic so far this season on 3rd and long situations. They've only allowed 2 conversions on 3rd and long. They defended 36 3rd and longs. I think that was 1 4th and long thrown in there too. They defended 36 of them, and that I can count, and 2 of them have been converted. And one was versus Michigan, and there was another one. I forget exactly the teams they converted, but there was 2 of those conversions. But out of those 36 situations where they're going to throw the football, they're predictable, it's 3rd and long, Johnny Nansen and PK have basically deployed that NASCAR dime that I love, that I had not seen prior to this year. So I'm going to say that is one of the products of that creative collaboration between PK and Johnny Nansen. Just a NASCAR package with at least 3 edges on the field and 6 DBs on the field as well. We had not seen that from Texas prior to this season. And or that 3 high safety look, which we've talked a ton about on this show, but we've talked about more about how Sark had to adapt to it during his time in the Big 12. But now Texas has decided, hey, if you can't beat them, join them. And now they're using a lot of the 3 high safety look this season. And I had not seen Texas do that prior to this creative collaboration between PK and Johnny Nansen. And so on basically, more than 2/3 of the snaps where Texas has to defend a 3rd and long, they're using one and or both of those concepts. A NASCAR dime accompanied with a 3 high safety package and or just a NASCAR dime or a 3 high safety look. So it's kind of one of their go-to. He's developing an MO, right, on 3rd and longs and what he likes to play. And I like it because all of your splash players, your havoc players are on the field at one time. Colin Simmons is at an edge. You bump Barron Terrell inside. You got Trey Moore out there. I know he hadn't made a lot of splash plays, but he will. You got Anthony Hill out there at the linebacker, and you can mug him and turn him into a rusher as well. You got 6 DBs, even bumping Barron inside, putting all that speed, and DB is probably your deepest position now in terms of playmakers with Makuba and Malik Muhammad and Jade Barron and Jalen Gilbo playing really well too, and Taft Daddy playing really well. You got more guys playing well in the secondary probably than any other group on that defense, and you have all those guys on the field at one time. It's my favorite. I would deploy it honestly on 2nd and longs too, and more than just 3rd and long. You've got 9 havoc plays out of those in those situations, defending 3rd and long with that NASCAR package and or that 3 high safety look. You've got 9 havoc plays. I mean, that's a splash play, but forced fumble, interception, fumble recovery, sack, tackle for loss by the defense. You got 5 sacks in those situations, deploying that NASCAR dime and or 3 high safety. 1 interception. By the way, interception for a touchdown because that was an Ethan Burke one. 1 fumble recovery and 2 tackles for loss. It's a nasty looking package, and it's so malleable because you got so many pieces that are versatile that don't normally occupy those roles. Bumping Barron Terrell inside, Jade Barron now going from cornerback to nickel. The dime, which you don't usually put out there. It's I say it's one of my favorite concepts that Texas is using in this series. Definitely one of those Johnny Nansen specials. All right. We're late for it to come back. We got off the record on the side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Mhm. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Got a couple of items I want to hit here. I know we don't have a lot of time, so we'll be quick about it. You know, one thing we don't think about with all this conference expansion, realignment, whatever. Now the West Coast arm of the Big Ten, and even the ACC also a part of that realignment. Them getting more West Coast teams as a part of their conference as well. Like the travel, of course, not a big deal because the teams are flying. All right, so they get to do it comfortably. You don't think about the equipment people because they don't fly.
Nope.
And like in just those weeks, they got to drive like literally across the country in some of these situations. They were just talking about Miami because Miami's equipment truck, they have to take their equipment to Cal.
Yeah.
For a conference game.
Yeah.
And they left on Tuesday for the team's game on Saturday, and 3,104 miles. That's a lot of mileage, man. I never thought about that. I was like, oh man, the equipment people. That's brutal. That is, I don't even know. And there's no other way to solve it. They just got to travel cross country.
No, when you have to drive across all the time zones, it's not good.
Whoa, that's legit. That's I didn't think about that at all. Yeah, it says here UCLA, Virginia Tech, and Miami are traveling a combined 14,000 miles round trip just this weekend and playing in conference games. It's a new era, man. It's a new era in college football. There's no doubt about that.
I'm curious about the time zone thing for Miami of this game for Cal. It's a 7:30 game at Cal, which means it's a 10:30 game in Miami.
Yeah. That's a great point. You want to be an NFL player? This is what NFL's got to deal with this stuff sometimes.
They do, but I mean, they don't normally start there's no NFL game that starts at 9:30 Central Time. Like that's the same as
no, you're right. You're right.
Because they are a national brand, and so they're playing to the whole market. But so I'm just like, if you're a Miami player and you're used to going to bed like at a reasonable hour, so 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now you're like
change your routine up. Yeah.
You're like 10:30 is the start of the game. So
I wonder if they coaches like they
trying to get them to stay up later, like no early practice this week.
Yeah, that's you don't want to do that. Yeah, I don't know what you do. That's I don't know how you adjust to that, but that's part of it. You're a coach. What is it? Coach a problem solver.
But you're not supposed to in conference play go that many time zones over. That's not normally how time zones
that's not something a lot of coaches even put into, like what they have to prepare for in their preparations. Like, no, I don't get worried about that.
No, because you say, even if we'll do non-conference, we can talk to people and be like, hey, don't put us on like non-conference. We're playing a big game going across. Put us at 11, put us at 2:30. We'll both be fine.
I wonder if you just try to fly out there early, but then you got class and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like in the NFL, that's what they do. They just fly out there a little bit earlier. Let you try to adjust to it sometimes. When it's like a crazy thing like that, they'll just, sometimes they'll fly like a day or two earlier and just say, we're here and we're going to practice here. And then you get on and see if you can adjust to it. Not that you can in that quick a time, but I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we have those London games there. So we have a London game on Saturday. That's even a bigger leap of time to go.
Jets and Vikings. Do we know when they went over there? Like, I don't know when they flew over.
I don't know. But I know that's normally a Wednesday, Thursday thing. And some of the teams go over there before. And that was the theory last year was do you go over there before and go sightseeing and stuff and kind of let your team adjust to it by being there a little bit and basically add a day in that would be there that you just go, no, this is kind of your off day, but we're going to do it there. Or do you wait and get as much practice in as you can at home?
Yeah. I think I want to acclimate just a little while there, but I could be wrong. I don't know if there's a true science.
It's probably different for different people. So it's, as much as you do the science.
You got a lot of people on your team, so you do what's best for the quarterback, I guess. Ask the quarterback, hey, dude, what you want to do, man? What's best for you? What do you want to do? Because, the most valuable position, the most impactful one, find out what he likes, and we're like, all right, we're going to make
the one who's got to think a lot.
Yes. Yeah. I don't need him out there groggy and sleep deprived. There's some positions I think you can play like that.
47 flex, huh? Which one?
Exactly. Yeah, you can operate a little foggy. It's like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm operating on just, just boom, boom, boom. I'm doing my thing. Like, nah, I don't want my quarterback like that. Too cerebral. It's too cerebral.
Just a quarterback sitting out there being like, I hear voices in my head. It's like, it's headset communication, man. Come on now.
Yeah, because we've all been there before where you're like truly sleep deprived, and it's sometimes you feel like man, I'm like not hallucinating, but I'm just like a walking zombie. You know what I mean? You feel like that. You don't want your quarterback out there sleep
No,
deprived. So
I'm just I'm
I
guessing
would
if
do it based
you
on him.
if you looked at the Miami bench on Saturday night, you will catch at least one yawn.
Oh, I'm sure of it. Oh yeah. If you
Like
catch
second
one, then
half.
that's they're
Yeah,
contagious. So
they're
you catch one,
contagious.
it's gonna be like a bunch of them. Just
Just some guys not playing a ton, just on the bench, just like,
yep, stayed up too late.
oh
Nighttime guy, like we
man.
talked about to start the show. Nighttime guy. You know, his nighttime duty was up, like, you know what I mean, hanging out. For some reason, wanted to watch a movie late. Why did you want to finish that movie? There was no need to. You could have finished that movie on your day off somewhere else, but you had to finish that
I
movie.
gotta get to the
I'm
next
with you.
level on this app.
This app, video game, whatever it is, on social media, scrolling. But no, I'm with you on that. I actually don't know. I think that's, like I said, it affects everybody differently. So I don't know how you prepare for that if you're a coach, especially a college coach. That's right, because they got class they got to deal with and other stuff like that. For men, it's I would think it'd be easier, but for some half your team is teenagers. I know that's got to be even tougher. All right, there you go. I wanted to play. We can do that on the other side. I want to play this Matthew McConaughey commercial. He's got a new commercial out
I like it.
with the
Yeah, I like
NFL. You've seen this?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to play that because I think it's pretty funny. We'll see if the audio translates.
It's
But I
Friday.
actually like it. Is I thought it was pretty good. And my wife, she's a 49er fan, so she thought it was great because it is some 49ers players in it. So we'll get into that on the other side, and we'll also talk NFL. Speaking of NFL, breaking down the Cowboys versus the Steelers. We're also going to preview Texans versus the Bills, the revenge game for Stephon Diggs. I'll tell you why he should have a monster game versus his old team. And then we'll look at some of the college football games. Not a ton of sexy college football matchups, but the rivals for the Longhorns, not the Sooners, because they have a bye week leading to that Texas OU game, just like Texas. But the Aggies and the Arkansas Razorbacks, I think, got some big games. Huge games actually coming up this weekend. We'll preview those and talk about a couple other games around the country. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! Football 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. And that's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, he plays jams from local bands, very talented human beings who you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Shiny Ribs, and he is playing Saturday at Sam's Town Points.
I like that. Shiny ribs. That's nice. All right, there you go. Patrick always hooking us up with the jams for all of our musically themed days of the week, and we appreciate him for that. We also appreciate him coming up with the topics for the big fat poll of the day, which is posted on X at the Horn ATX. Patrick, let the folks know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day on a Friday.
Big fat poll of the day. What has been Texas football's biggest strength so far this season? We gave you pass offense, run offense, pass defense, and run defense. The pass offense is at 60%. No real surprise there. Run defense is at 27%. Pass defense is at 27%. Run defense is at 9% and 4% for run offense.
Okay, yeah. See, we knew it wasn't going to be at zero.
No, not
go.
at
So
zero.
somebody out there voting.
Like,
I don't know how.
I think they think it is a strength and not being used properly.
Okay, or it's a short choice, or Trey Wisner voting on that thing, or somebody's mama.
I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, but it's clear the pass offense for Texas has a chance to be really special. And I don't even know, like I said, I don't even know by the time you get done with the regular season, even if you include an SEC title game in there, let's just say pre-playoffs, I don't know if you'll get 1,000-yard receiver actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bond could still do it if he has a couple big games.
He could, but something tells me like they don't start using them just as much on like a couple of more reverses like thrown in there now. And man, they have so many different players. Like you've had 4 different leading receivers in your first 5 games. My prediction was you was gonna have a different leading receiver in at least half your games. You're already there, and I was not including Gunnar Helm. I assure you of that. So I apologize to Gunnar Helm for disrespecting him, but I did not include Gunnar Helm in that. I was including just receivers, and so Wingo and Bond, and now DeAndre Moore in that category, and now throw Gunnar Helm in there. And dude, I'm not Matthew Golden. He's a red zone weapon, and he's got, I think in terms of touchdowns, I think he's up there toward the top in receiving touchdowns, but he hadn't had that breakout game of leader in receiving yet. Neither has Jonte Cook, who came into the season with more experience in the system and more chemistry and time with Quinn than any other receiver. We're still waiting on that to actually come to materialize on the field. And then there's the Silas Bowden game. Remember, after spring, the receiver that was mentioned the most in terms of the updates in the offseason was Silas Bowden and how good he looks. And even when I went to practice, I came back and told you guys, like, Silas Bowden looks legit. And so it still hasn't been the activation of Silas Bowden yet as a receiver. So you still got Golden, Bowden, and Cook to go. And like I said, you already got 4 different leading receivers. That's just how good that passing game is. And by the way, your backup quarterback was the highest graded quarterback by Pro Football Focus in the country last week in his second start. And everybody, including analysts, Longhorn fans watching Texas right now, believe that Quinn gives you the best chance to win a national championship, but your backup quarterback is still good enough to be graded the best quarterback in college football in his second start. Go out there. Like, that's how loaded you are. So you got 2 first rounders there. And I did not include, I didn't think Ringo would be this explosive as a freshman either, but he's clearly one of your top 3 best receivers. And Jaden Blue in the passing game, when he is focused, he's truly a weapon in the passing game. And he was going into the game last week. He was their second most targeted receiver in the passing game. So I just think it's obvious. I said it from the get-go, and now I'm doubling down on it as I get a chance to watch the team. Before the season, I said, you got to lead with the pass. That's your strength. That's your identity. It truly is. That's their identity. They're a lethal passing team. And we'll see if Oklahoma can stifle that a little bit. Oklahoma's got a really good back 7 that could match up well against Texas passing offense. And then you'll face Georgia. So in the next 2 games, we'll know how good it is. We'll learn. Because if Oklahoma and Georgia can't at least make it look clunky, make Texas look a little clunky. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to make them look clunky because Michigan didn't. They were ready to roll against Michigan. You say, well, what about the game against Mississippi State? We all agree Texas was their own worst enemy. Now, Texas can hurt themselves, self-inflicted wounds. They did that against Mississippi State. Penalties, turnovers, and dropped passes. Dropped missed opportunities. Yeah, if Texas is not executing against anybody, we can see Texas look clunky and them not necessarily reach our level of expectation for that offense. But if Texas is executing, I think to me, I want to see them execute against Oklahoma and against a Georgia defense consistently. Those are two top 15, top 20 defenses in the country. Michigan's in that conversation too, and they did it really well versus Michigan. They looked really good versus Michigan. But time to do it again. Dial it up.
No, and I mean, and this is too, it's the last week was the first of a lot of mental mistakes and a lot of mistakes. You just got to not show that the next 2 weeks as well. So turnovers, get those down. Penalties, get those down. If you can do those in the next 2 games, in really important games, that's a good step going forward. That maybe it was just a mental lapse that was the end of phase 1 and the bye week coming up. And maybe there's a little bit of a lapse in that one or late and it was hot or whatever else, whatever excuse you want to make. That's why there was those mistakes. But those kind of shot yourself in the foot with those a little bit too.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I think the formula against Oklahoma, which we'll talk plenty about, is pretty simple for Texas offense. Protect Quinn, all right, because they're second in the country in sacks. So that old Kelvin Banks line that we love so much. I like my quarterbacks untouched by the hands of man. That's why we want them, untouched by the hands of man. I don't know why not. We should just put that on a t-shirt. It's such a great quote. Untouched by the hands of man. Kelvin Banks, great. And take care of the football because they're second in the country in takeaways. So those are the two factors that feed that Oklahoma defense and make it powerful. If you take those away from the Oklahoma defense, I don't know if they're a great defense. Because they're more havoc minded than anything. I think they can be had. We even saw that with when they played Auburn. You can make plays on them, but critically in critical situations, they make a lot of big plays, splash plays. Take away the splash plays, protect Quinn, and protect the football. They protect both of those things. They're going to pull away from Oklahoma, in my opinion. Oklahoma's offense, they can't keep up. But the only way they could keep up is if Texas has some sacks and negative plays, and there are a couple of turnovers here and there. That's all it takes. Look at Mississippi State. Talent deficient team on the road at DKR, backup quarterback in there, stayed in the game with Texas for 3 quarters. How? They didn't take care of the football. And by the way, Arch Manning playing amazingly.
Yeah.
He was playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and they still stayed in the game with you for 3 quarters. Why? Turnovers, mistakes, penalties, missed opportunities. It doesn't take much.
Nope.
It really doesn't take much at all for it to become a competitive game. You'd be surprised, even with all the talent that Texas has. So that is what they got to obviously remedy versus Oklahoma. Okay, good stuff there. Let's get updated first on the Horn headlines. Then we'll come back and we'll start previewing the Texans and the Bills and the Cowboys versus the Steelers. We'll also look at some of the college football action around the country. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB playoffs, the Mets beat the Brewers 4-2 yesterday with a 9th-inning rally to be the final team to advance from the wild card round. The divisional series are now set with the Tigers taking on the Guardians, the Mets facing the Phillies, the Royals versus the Yankees, and the Padres going against the Dodgers, with all series starting on Saturday. In college football, with many teams taking a bye week, including Texas, there is only one matchup of top 25 teams this weekend between number 9 Missouri and number 25 Texas A&M. Other games of interest include tonight's matchup of an undefeated UNLV against Syracuse, number 10 Michigan facing Washington, and number 8 Miami taking on Cal. In the NFL, the Falcons got a 36-30 win after forcing overtime with a last-second field goal. Kirk Cousins threw for 509 yards and 4 touchdowns in the game on 58 pass attempts. On Sunday, the Texans take on the Bills in Houston while the Cowboys travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Injuries are a major concern for Dallas, with several star players currently questionable or out for the game. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. I appreciate those. Now, we did promise you this this sound of Matthew McConaughey in his new commercial. So I do want to play that before we get started. I think it's like an Uber Eats commercial or something like that, like in collaboration with the NFL. So it's and Christian McCaffrey is sitting. Basically, I'll set the kind of set the scene for you. He's sitting there watching football on a couch with Matthew McConaughey. Boom. There it is. All right. So here it is, the commercial with Matthew McConaughey, the Minister of Culture.
Why am I still hungry? Because you're watching football. The whole game is basically an elaborate scheme to make you buy more food. And it's working.
What are you talking about?
Dude, think about it. Turnovers, pancake blocks, scrambles. Oh, I just scored. Feed me more.
Come on, McConaughey.
Come on, McCaffrey. Jabril Peppers, man. CJ Ham. Slather on some Gerard mayo and you got yourself a sandwich. Refrigerator Perry was not his real name.
You're being serious.
Yeah, they got you where they want you.
I don't think football's trying to sell you food.
Really? Come on, man. Can you go to Stanford?
I really don't.
And what are you eating, Jerry?
Rice.
Jerry's eating rice. Huh.
Well done. Well done. I'm not gonna lie. Very original too. I love
like
it.
that.
And football is a sport where what do we always talk about when there's a big football weekend? Hey, what are you gonna eat while you watch the games?
100%. The spread.
It's always like one of your top three concerns. Like, it's a big game. What are we gonna eat during the game? Though it's important. I don't know. Maybe he's right about the subliminal messaging about food and football, because it is even Turkey Day. We love Thanksgiving because of it is the ultimate celebration of food and football together. And that is, he's right. I don't know. They're right. I don't know why there's a connection, but there is with food and football. I have a connection with it. It's
I don't know.
weird.
I'm a fat guy. I have a connection with food and pretty much everything. So it's not.
It's not specific to football. You're like, actually, I do that with all types
everything.
of good stuff. So
Yeah. So it's.
that's true. But I do think it is. I think naturally, I don't know, with big games, like Super Bowl is always like your Super Bowl party is based on what? The food. at the
Oh yeah,
party.
you gotta have the You got
The
the
food is
spread
all about
outs,
the food.
What you
Yeah, the
bag.
spread. That's all what Super Bowl party is based on. So it is something about food and football. You cannot deny
No,
that.
I mean,
I'm glad they kind of tapped into it.
If you watch
That's
any
pretty
like
cool.
old TV shows, or how many commercials of other foods are like they're watching the game and then the wife brings in the food and she's been baking.
Yeah.
Like it's just ingrained into the culture of it that you eat while you watch a football game.
Yes, I totally agree. And I don't know if that's the case with basketball or baseball.
I don't, because I think
it's
football,
just because I don't know. It's just
it's a
different.
weekend, because I think it happens on the weekend, and so it's
There's
like
something
it makes
about it.
sense that it works on a weekend.
Because
versus-
your big meals happen on weekend, your family meals and big meals
Yeah.
happen on the weekends. When no, you're right. That's just
Because like for
But it
basketball,
is,
you're
I-
like it's
yeah.
Tuesday night. Like I'll only go get the wings and
I'm
watch the
eating
game.
Whataburger. What do you mean?
Yeah,
I mean-
exactly. It's not quite as special, I think,
Yeah,
as
it's
a
not a
basketball.
spectacle. Yeah, all
Yeah.
these kind of meals, you're right. Like that's literally a spread for a football game when you have watch parties.
Yeah,
Football game, the spread, that kind of thing.
like there
No,
would be
it's,
food if I go over and watch the finals at somebody's place. There'll be food, but the question is not what is the food. But if you're going to
Yes,
watch the Super Bowl, what is the food?
Like, yeah, man, what you serving? You ain't serving up nothing, then that's not a real good Super Bowl party. So no, I love that, man. That was a great way to tap into it. Good job, McConaughey, the Minister of Culture. Did a really good job. If you want to go watch it, I think it's on his Twitter account. He posted it earlier this week. All right. I think it might have been last week, actually. All right, let's get to previewing the Cowboys and the Steelers, and then we'll get to the Texans as well. And then we'll talk college football on the other side during Rod's rant. That's the plan anyway. We always have a plan, and everybody's got plans. They get punched in the mouth. So let's talk about the Cowboys. The Cowboys they're in I think they're in a tough situation here, because they're going to be missing a lot of their key pieces. First of all, on defense, you're going to be missing Micah Parsons. You're going to be missing DeMarcus Lawrence. So your two top edge defenders, they're going to be out for this game versus the Steelers. You're also going to be missing, of course, Deron Bland's been out and will be out at least until the midway point of the season. Also, you're gonna be missing Brandon Cooks. He has an infection that he's dealing with, so he's not a long-term injury, but he's gonna be out for this game. So that's another starter out for you. And I think, there are some other minor injuries, but I think those are the major ones. Guys we know that are out there. Everybody else, I think they're questionable, or maybe they just got on the injury report. But those guys we know are out for this game. And the reason that both of them, all three of them, are really important because the Cowboys don't have a lot of margin for error, especially on their roster. Like they already got some glaring holes on their roster. Interior D line, one of the worst in the NFL. Now you're talking about taking away the two edges, and now you're just going to leave the worst interior D line with your fourth, third string D ends. That's an ugly situation for the Cowboys to be in. And then I worry about them being able to keep the linebackers clean in the run game. Now the Steelers are dealing with injuries too. Now this may help the Cowboys because Jalen Warren and Cordero Patterson are also dealing with some injuries, so we don't know their availability either. You may not necessarily have those guys available, and this will actually be a test of two teams who are struggling to run the ball really on first down. How about this? The Cowboys, we know they're one of the worst running teams in the NFL, if not the worst rushing team in the league. Their first down running back runs, they have the lowest success rate in the league. The Steelers running backs, first down running back runs, their success rate is 31st in the league. Neither one of these teams have been able to run the ball really well on first down, but the Cowboys just don't have any explosive element to their running game. They have one running back run at least 10 yards, but don't have a running back run over 10 yards. Matter of fact, the only rush that's over 10 yards for the Cowboys is actually CeeDee Lamb, which we talked about. That's just a sad state of affairs. My concern with the Cowboys is in this game. I haven't looked at the line, but the best the Cowboys can do, they're not going to blow out the Steelers on the road without their two best defensive players, or arguably three of their four best defensive players, because Deron Bland is out too. And they're, especially with their rush defense issues, which against Jalen Warren and against Najee Harris could, end up being a problem. But the Steelers aren't a dominant running team. But my concern is that if I'm the Steelers, Arthur Smith, and I see the edge deficiencies for the Cowboys with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence out, I'm attacking the edge. I'm attacking, and the D, you can attack. We already know their interior D line has been a problem. They did show up last week versus the Giants, but I don't think the Steelers are going to respect that performance. I think they're still going to test this Cowboys rush defense as they should, and then they'll have a Justin Fields, a mobile quarterback who they can move the pocket with, give him options on the edge to run or to throw, give him simple half-field reads, which I think they're doing a lot. And Justin Fields actually, by the way, is playing at a really, really high level. And so with that being said, and all the Cowboys and Brandon Cooks being out and the Cowboys having a really bad run game and them being a, kind of lopsided formula to win, only a one-dimensional team because they're pretty much just all built on passing the football because they don't have the ability to establish a consistent run game. The best they can do is make it a one-score game. And, man, Mike Tomlin's awesome in one-score games. He's amazing in one-score games. We talked about this. In fact, I think they're 2-1. They've had 3 one-score games already. They played in 4 games. They already got 3 one-score games. And if you go look at it, I believe, he's 2-1 in those one-score games this season. And I told you, he's the best one-score coach if you look at it in one-score game situations in the league. Last year, they were 9-2 in one-score games. And since 2020, 34-11 in one-score games. I guess now you can say 36-12 because if you want to count this year in one-score games this year, best in the NFL by far. So what I'm concerned is that if the Cowboys, they say they do have a great game plan and Dak has a hell of a game and they're able to still turn this into a fourth quarter game, a one-score situation, that's when Mike Tomlin's team shine. And I think without a Brandon Cooks, it's going to be really tough for this offense. And without Brandon Cooks and a running game, it's going to be really tough for the offense to score a lot of points. Now, you only need 21 points. And that's another thing we brought up earlier this week. You only need 21. And you say, well, why you only need 21? Well, because if you look at Justin Fields' quarterback teams, since he's become a starter in the NFL, whenever he's a starter in the NFL, if his team allows, the defense allows more than 20 points in a game, he's 0-22 as a starter. You cannot ignore that trend. There's something to that. There is something to that. 0-22 as a starter when his team allows more than 20 points. So if you are the Cowboys, can you score 21? That is the ultimate question. And by the way, the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, 18-10 win, 13-6 win, 20-10 win, 27-24 loss. Whenever they got to go over 20, it's going to be a problem. All right, that's when you got a chance to win. So can the Cowboys get to 21? That's the $3 million question. I don't know why I picked $3 million, but that's the $1 million question.
Yeah. Can you go against it? Can you get the offense rolling? Can somebody else give options to Dak Prescott where he doesn't have to sit in the pocket and sit and hold the football when they've got TJ Watt bearing down on him over and over again? And not just for Dak not getting hit, but for Terrence Steele or Tyler Guyton, whoever is guarding, whoever's trying to be blocking TJ Watt, to not get penalties and push you back 10 yards.
Yeah, waiting for CD, right? Like, that's basically what he'd be doing, because I think the Steelers are going to do their best to take him away and make him a priority. I would just put 2 DBs over there and let Dak know you don't go here. You can go over there, but you don't go here.
Yeah, no fly zone over here.
Yeah, pretty much. And see how Dak adjusts. If I am Mike McCarthy, I get the other guys involved early. I would get those guys involved early. I'd get Jake Ferguson involved early. If it's going to be Jalen Tolbert, get him involved early. You need to get them confident, and you need to have the Pittsburgh Steelers acknowledge them defensively, or at least have to respect their presence defensively. And if they do, at least maybe they'll open up some things for CeeDee Lamb, because I think they might take him away initially.
And I know he's not going to, because it's not in his offense. I would put CD in motion more than CD's been in motion.
It's crazy. I can't. Yeah. No, I don't know why. The Cowboys below 50% pre-snap motion rate. We talked about this earlier this week. And 30th in motion at the snap. And I don't know why that would be the case, because that is a proven cheat code that improves every aspect of your offense, and they need a lot of help offensively right now.
Yeah. I mean, even if you just want to say it's a run play, none of this matters. Still. Put CD in motion.
Yep.
Just to let that, because the Steelers defense is going to be watching one player more than anybody else. So move that one guy, make everyone make sure that he is covered. And while they're all making sure of that, you give the ball off to one of your running backs. It doesn't have to be a great drawn up move of you move him over and then he cuts across. And all you have to do is just move him some, because if they are going to try and bump him, if they are going to try and put a guy over the top, are they going to switch? Are they going to shadow him? Are they going to move? Make them show you a little bit more of what their defense is by moving him. And I think what they do too often is they move, even when they use movement, to try and figure out a defense, but then don't snap the ball and let the defense get completely set where they're happy again, as opposed to not giving the defense a chance to think, which is doing it on the snap and moving CeeDee Lamb and then snapping the ball. I would do that a bit more, just knowing we know we have one major weapon this week and they know we have one major weapon this week. So let's at least make it a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm counting this 16, 17, 18. I think they're outside the top 20 in pre-snap motion rate. That's absurd. Like, that really is.
It's an old coach. It's an old school coach. That's what it is. It's just
that's crazy.
Old school coaches don't do those types of things as much. They're just, because it wasn't a thing when they came. I get that that's stupid. I get that that's a major flaw in your game if you're not willing to evolve and move into it. I'm not defending it. It's just a trend that older coaches will run older concepts, and that's an older concept to not run motion.
Yeah. It is. Like, you got teams that are in now 70-80% motion rate now. Damn near every play.
I remember seeing
8 out of 10 plays
when Bill Belichick was on the Manning cast, and they were joking that Peyton Manning said that in third and long, you shouldn't be able to play zone defense. And Bill Belichick retorts with, yeah, and the motion should be illegal too.
Yes.
Yep. Because he's basically like, what is the most annoying thing that happens to you? And Bill Belichick's like, motion. It's the most annoying thing, because I'm trying to disguise my defense. I'm trying to do all this. And then you move. And we have everything perfectly set up, and you
And
screw
now
it
gotta
up.
adjust. Yep. Remember, Mike Zimmer said that was the offensive concept that gave him the most trouble.
Yes.
We played that audio. He's like, no, and he's on the same staff with you, telling you, no, man, motion. Ooh, it is a pain, and you know what? And yet, Cowboys don't use it. As a matter of fact, I heard, man, I might have to play that sound. We might have to get that sound. There was an NFL player recently that was talking about it too. And he was in, it might have been Luke Kuechly, if I'm not mistaken, talking about how advantageous motion was to offenses. And yet you got the Cowboys who are using it at, I think it's like 47% of the time. It's like that's unbelievable. Can't believe that. Anyway, good stuff there. So we'll come back to that. Hopefully, I'm actually find that audio and play that for Patrick on the other side. I'll get that for Patrick so we can play that for you on the other side. Let's talk about the Texans really quickly, because I think the Texans, this is going to be a great test for them, just because you got the MVP right now. I'd say the front runner for the MVP right now in Josh Allen. And he's playing at a really, really high level. This might be the best we've seen Josh Allen play, because he doesn't have the full complement of weapons that he once did there in Buffalo. Stephon Diggs, of course, is now with the Houston Texans, so there's a revenge element there. But he's got his second longest streak of his career without throwing an interception. That's the difference between this Josh Allen and the old Josh Allen. The old Josh Allen was really high risk, really high reward. This Josh Allen is really high reward and without any other risk. I think he's got one fumble on the season or something like that, like a fumble lost on the season. That's it. But we have not seen a Josh Allen play. We've seen Josh Allen play this good. It's like he has played this good, but usually this good is also accompanied with the turnovers and the interceptions and some of those WTF plays. He has now eliminated the turnovers. He's eliminated the interceptions and eliminated a lot of the WTF plays.
Yeah. So your job now is to make those come back.
Yes, because you know it's him. Right? You know we thought it was. I will admit right now, I have not seen him play as well. Now, last week, Baltimore Ravens put it on the Bills. They did, which actually is not good for the Texans. That will probably mean they'll have an extra level of focus now with this Texans team. But I'll tell you why I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a huge game. Not because he's motivated against his old team, not that, but because if you're Buffalo, you better hope and pray that he does have a big game, because your game plan to take away Nico Collins actually worked. Because the truth is, Nico Collins is the engine of this offense.
Yes,
it's him. It is not Stephon Diggs, and it is not Joe. It is Nico Collins. That is when they end up in third down, which is they average 3rd and 9, by the way. So when they end up in third down, and CJ's, they're in save us CJ mode. Save us CJ mode. Go out there and make a play. He's looking for Nico. That's why Nico has almost 100 more yards receiving than every other receiver in the league. He's looking for Nico on those third downs. So if you're going to end up in 3rd and 9, which they do on average, you better make sure you got somebody to convert those. And that is Nico Collins right now. He is playing. He has got elite numbers and metrics versus man, versus zone, versus single high, versus two high. There isn't a defense out there right now that he hasn't necessarily just ran roughshod over. Like, he is unbelievable right now. He's on pace for 2,000 yards. They're going to try to stop him. They got to try to take him away. And I think in trying to take him away, that's going to allow for Stephon Diggs to be showcased and Stephon Diggs to step up. But yeah, that's why I think Stephon Diggs will have a big game. He'll be motivated, of course, but they can't afford to take away Stephon Diggs. They want to let Stephon Diggs, dance all over him and have some highlights against him, because Nico is the guy you got to stop, guys. Yeah. He's the engine.
And we will say Tank Dell limited in practice, but if he comes back, it gives you yet another weapon in that passing game. Yep. That can make them have to back off of Tank Dell a little bit, especially those safeties, because Tank Dell can go over the top real easy. And so if you have to back off of the more weapons you have, the more they have to back off of Nico Collins, and you try and get him a little bit more space.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And we don't know if Joe Mixon's going to be available. If Joe Mixon plays, that's huge.
Huge.
It's huge, because that means on first down, they'll have another option, because right now they're throwing the ball on early. Now over 70% of their total yards have come throwing the football, passing. So this is a pass first offense,
and that's
no
with
running
week
option.
1 with Joe Mixon, and you take Joe Mixon out after that because Joe Mixon went 150 something, 159.
He was like the lead. He was like the second leading rusher, right, in week 1.
Yeah,
leading rusher, I believe.
Yeah.
Something like
so if we're gonna have that in week 1, then understand how bad it's been since he's left.
Yeah, they needed bad against this group because you can't afford to those first down blunders and first down mishaps along with the penalties. That's just leading to your third and long situations. And if you have third and long, 39+ yards to go is your average versus Buffalo, you will lose. Period. They're gonna lose that game. And in fact, that might be the one factor I'm looking at. If instead of rushing yards, there'll be a lot of different factors I think they'll play into who's going to win this game. But the biggest will be how the Texans handle third and long, because you're not going to beat good teams by averaging 3rd and 9 to go. You'll beat those bad teams in the AFC South, but you ain't going to beat Minnesota. That's a good team now, and you're not going to beat Buffalo. That's a good team. That's how football go. All right, we come back. We'll get into some of the college football games coming up this weekend, and I'll try to find that sound talking about motion to do our best to implore the Cowboys to please modernize this damn offense and use more motion. We'll do that on the other side right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Okay, I did send Patrick that audio, and it was Luke Kuechly who was talking about motion. So we've talked about how even Belichick has brought up how it's advantageous for offenses to use it against defenses. He's a GOAT. Mike Zimmer on the same damn staff, all right, as Mike McCarthy, and he has stated that it is the most troublesome concept to defend for him is motion and what it does to a defense. And so while the Cowboys 30th in motion at the snap, and while they 23rd overall in pre-snap motion, when it is a proven cheat code that works and improves every aspect of your offense. Well, here's Luke Kuechly, was one of the best linebackers in football. He's talking to Daniel Jeremiah. And by the way, the Bills are mentioned here, so it's a Texans kind of relevant here conversation because they play the Bills coming up, who use a lot of pre-snap motion. Here's Luke Kuechly talking about what a pain it is to defend those concepts with Daniel Jeremiah.
One of the things we've seen, Luke, just every year there's innovation with motion. Every year you're seeing everybody's trying to do the newest thing. One of the things this year that's been interesting, not what Buffalo's doing is nuts, like what the way they've been moving guys around. But to me, what's jumped out, I was talking to Kurt Warren about this the other day, was the speed of motion now. Like, dude, it used to be almost like it was an indicator, it's a coverage indicator, kind of mosey along. Like, dude, like now they are rolling on motion.
Well, you think about, all right, so say it's 2x2 and the slot receiver motions to 3x1. There is no stress on anybody in the second level of the defense for him to get out front side. He's motioning across to make it 2x2 to 3x1. And you're like, he's just going to move over there. Nickel comes over, Mike and Will switch. You can figure out rotation. But now it's like, hey, we're playing the San Francisco 49ers and they line up in 2x2 and Deebo Samuel is running Mach 5 across the formation. I don't know if he's getting the ball. I don't know if he's running a pass route. Now I have to get, hey, is this zoom motion? Because if it's zoom, I have to bump. It's just the more speed that happens pre-snap on the offensive side of the ball, the more stress it puts on a defense. And it makes playing the run game really hard because you can't get downhill. All your movement as a backer is lateral. It's just stress on the defense is caused by pre-snap motion and the speed at which they do it.
There you go. All right. So another witness basically saying, pre-snap motion is hell on wheels to deal with for a defense. It causes all types of problems and headaches. And yet the Cowboys outside the top 20 in motion, pre-snap motion and motion at the snap. So I don't get it. Somebody talk to Mike McCarthy and tell him, hey, Mike Zimmer, you're in the same staff with him. You tell him they should use more of it. It would help them out. All right, let's get to some college football discussion. Aggies got the biggest game this weekend. The biggest game this weekend, it's not a lot of sexy games, will be Missouri going on the road to face the Aggies. And I believe the Aggies are favored in this game. Now, Missouri's basically a tale of two seasons so far. They had those games versus Murray State and Buffalo, blew them out and shut them out, actually. Had two shutouts. And then they faced Boston College and Vanderbilt. And Boston College was ranked at the time, I believe. And Vanderbilt's a lot better than we all thought Vanderbilt's going to be. They're not like the punching bag of the SEC right now. They won that by a combined 9 points. They went to overtime with Vanderbilt. So those were two close games. That offense, which was last year one of the most high-powered offenses in the country because of the passing game, it has not necessarily been a prolific elite offense. It hasn't been very potent. And that's part of that's on Brady Cook. Luther Burden was one of the best wide receivers in the country last season, still is. He'll be drafted really high, but they haven't really had an offense that consistently looks like it is an efficient, pass first offense, which I think is what their identity is going to be. And ultimately for the Aggies, the Aggies are going to win one way, right? They got a new quarterback in there, Marcel Reed. He's not necessarily an efficient pocket passer. He's a guy that's going to beat you with his legs. As a matter of fact, he's got the 9th most rushing yards by a quarterback since he became the starter for them in week 3. So he can hurt you as a runner. But Missouri's defense will really – the question is, are they legit? Is that defense legit? If their defense is legit and they can hold the Aggies or stifle the Aggies' run game, because I don't know if the Aggies really have the threats on the outside in the passing game or the quarterback to necessarily be able to capitalize on any weakness they have in the secondary. Can they stop the run? If Missouri can stop the run, which they have so far, but that's against some teams who they may not be very formidable in the running game, even Boston College and Vanderbilt. But right now, you can look at Missouri's run defense. That's one of the strengths of their team. They're 25th. And if you look at kind of Pro Football Focus run defense grade, they're one of the better run defense in the country. That's the matchup to watch. Can their run defense, can it stop Marcel Reed, the +1 running advantage that the Aggies are going to bring to the table? Because if they do that, they're going to force the Aggies to have to beat them outside of their comfort zone. They don't want to have to throw the football to win a game. And that's what if I'm Missouri, that's what I'm going to force the Aggies to do, to run the football. And can Missouri deal with a running quarterback, a quarterback with a +1 in the running game? Now, all of this is moot if that Missouri passing attack starts to look like it did last year, but it don't look like it did last year. It doesn't, because the Aggies, they're not necessarily great in coverage. They've given up some coverage, giving up some yards in coverage this year, giving up some big plays in coverage. But I'm not sure the Missouri passing attack can exploit the Aggies in their pass defense. I think it'll come down to, can that Missouri rush defense, can it stop, the +1 running attack with Marcel Reed? And ultimately, on the flip side of that, that Missouri offense, when does it wake up, basically? Because I don't think they've against real good competition, against Murray State and Buffalo, of course. I mean, they scored some points, but that wasn't the case against Vanderbilt and against Boston College. And this is a much more formidable opponent in the Aggies. They got real athletes, so that's a concern for the Aggies. Every time I pick the Aggies, they make me look bad. It blows up in my face every time I pick the Aggies. I want to pick Missouri in this game, but Missouri, by the way, this is their first game on the road too. I'll say all 4 of their first 4 games have been at home. So first time they got to go on the road as well. It's gonna be tough.
You know who the betting favorite is?
It's the Aggies. I
The
bet.
Aggies are 2.5-point favorites in this game. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, it's crazy. Trust me. I would have loved to have picked the Aggies in this game, but every time I pick the Aggies, it blows up in my face.
So why are you stopping now?
So well done. Yeah, you're right about that. Well, I'm leaning Missouri. I don't see why Missouri's passing offense isn't better. This will be the biggest test for them so far. So we'll see. I'm gonna go with Missouri, even though the Aggies are the betting favorite in that matchup. All right, we got to get to the break here and get to who said that. That's what my man Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice, you have to identify who said that. We'll get to that on the other side. Also, maybe we'll talk about that Arkansas game. Arkansas, another rival for Texas, has a big game coming up. They got Tennessee. In Tennessee, that a lot of people think that might be a trap game. I'll tell you why that could be the case when we come back right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Bears coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a Freak Flag Feel Good. Fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, 512 Football Friday edition of the Rodcast. And 512 means that Patrick is playing jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Sabbath Crow, and they're playing tonight at Valhalla. If you're into something a little bit heavier, you can Joe check out Sabbath Crow at Valhalla tonight.
Nice. I like it. Also, I like the topic for the big fat poll of the day already posted on X at the Horn ATX. Go check it out for yourself. The topic pretty simple. What has been Texas football's biggest strength so far this season? And your options were pass offense, run offense, pass defense, and run defense. 64% of you who voted said that you believe the pass offense is the strength of the team. And coming in second, pass defense. 25% of you believe pass defense is the strength of the team. Okay, really quickly before we get to who said that, just not even a preview, but just giving you a couple of nuggets about that Arkansas-Tennessee game. Is Arkansas, how legit is Arkansas is basically the question here. Tennessee's going to beat Arkansas. Tennessee is just a monster right now. You're talking about a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. But honestly, Arkansas could be 5-0, guys. Think about it. They got their 2 losses, one against Oklahoma State in double overtime, and they lost to the Aggies by 4 points last week. Either one of them games could have went either way. Team could be 5-0 or 4-1. This is the game they're at home. This is a game to be determined like how good Arkansas is, and should Texas start worrying about Arkansas? Longhorn fans, not the team, because remember Tennessee was held to their season lows in points, which was 25 versus Oklahoma and yards in that road game in Oklahoma. So they'll be on the road, and they'll be facing a team that at least can present some similar challenges to Tennessee. By the way, Taylor Green. He's going to be a problem no matter what. He's the only Power 4 quarterback to have over 1,200 yards passing and 300 yards rushing. He's the quarterback for Arkansas. He could be the great equalizer, making some plays out there. So watch that. So how tough does Arkansas play Tennessee? That's going to be really quick. And then we'll determine how good Arkansas is, because we know Kentucky now is a problem. That's a potential trap game for Texas. How good is Arkansas? Is that going to be a team that could pose some problems for the Longhorns? That's something to watch for. So if you want to look for a game, do some homework. Watch the Aggies, because that's the biggest game of the weekend. But then if you get a chance, watch that Arkansas-Tennessee game for as long as it's competitive, and see if Arkansas is worth your worries as a Longhorn fan. All right, well, let's get to who said that. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice, you have to identify who said that.
I have a lot of confidence in all the guys that we have. He's obviously done a really nice job, stepping in with his opportunities. Done a really nice job catching and running the last couple of weeks. Turned a shallow route, into 15 or 16 yards into one of those explosives really last week, which was really cool. I was happy for him. But you go out there and earn it. You earn those opportunities. You earn the trust. You earn all that. And he's come in with the right attitude since day one, and it's showing.
Ooh, that is Matthew Stafford talking about Jay Witt, Jordan Whittington, in the big game he had last week, where he was one of the leaders in target share. I believe ended up leading them in receptions with the injuries to Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So good for him, man.
He is one of those guys that is. It's just that story is so awesome.
It is a great story.
I mean, especially when he came out and did that piece of why he came back for another year. Remember that, where he said he was basically scared of what the future held for him, going to the NFL and not sure if he was going to be able to make it. And then to have this in his rookie season is just such a cool story.
It really is. I mean, and the irony of it, I mean, I'm glad, that he's staying healthy, but he's getting his opportunity because the other guys can't stay healthy. That was what was limiting him and holding him back. Yeah. But like I said, I think he figured out his body late. I think he was doing things like powerlifting and doing other things that weren't good for his body. And I think around his 4th year at Texas, he figured out, this is what works for me and my physiology. And I think now that's why he's as durable as he is now. It's amazing. Yeah. Great story.
And then he trained up DeAndre Moore for us here at Texas. So.
And then that's right. DeAndre Moore gives him a lot of props that, hey, man, he was the culture warrior for us, the culture bearer for us. And now he's kind of taught me his ways. Thank you, Patrick, for everything you do, man. Great job as always this week. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We talk about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Have a great weekend. And until next time, hook 'em and peace.